Good evening, everyone. And I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Knox County Commission. This is our work session for Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Commissioner Lundy,
Here.
Commissioner Durrett,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Commissioner Schoonmaker,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Bessler,
Here.
Commissioner Beeler,
Here.
Commissioner Daly,
Here.
Commissioner Jay,
Here.
Commissioner Biggs.
Present.
All members present.
Thank you very much. Start off the meeting by stating that this work session has been publicly noticed and is an electronic meeting under the authority granted by this body by Tennessee Governor Bill Lee under Executive Order Extension number 73, which outlines remote meetings and implementing best practices across the state to promote transparent government while protecting the health and safety of citizens and government officials. I'll now entertain a motion to accept this determination by Governor Lee and conduct this meeting electronically. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Second. Second by Commissioner Schoonmaker, first by Commissioner Daly. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker,
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler,
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler,
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly,
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs,
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Durrett, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
You'll please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Durrett. Unless I hear any objections, here's how I intend on conducting tonight's meeting. First, we will set the agenda and approve the minutes. Then we have a very brief public forum. After that, I'm going to call on Mayor Jacobs for just a few minutes. Then we will jump into the agenda.
Commissioner Jay,
Yes, sir. Yes. Commissioner Lundy?
I was just wondering if we can take a moment of silence before we set the agenda in the loss of the Austin East student, Stanley Freeman Jr.
Yes, well, as soon as we get done outlining this, then I'll call on you. Maybe you could recap the events leading up to this and
Okay, thank you.
understand it. So, as I've outlined tonight's run of show, do I hear any objections before I move forward? Seeing none, let us, before we set the agenda, I'll call on you, Commissioner Lundy, if you could outline what you'd like to introduce and talk to the commission about.
Yes, recently on Friday, I know most of y'all heard in the news, I did receive a call from our school board representative on Friday that there was a shootout at Austin East after school. And then later on, we found out that a young guy who was 16 years old named Stanley Freeman Jr. Was murdered on Friday. So it's been a very tough weekend for our community. So I just want to ask for prayers and just want to give my condolences to the family and to our community. And I just want my commissioners to stand with me in a moment of silence, lifting our community up. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. If you would look at your agendas for tonight, I'll run down the additions, withdrawals, deferrals, and non-consent items. Additions to the agenda include items number 33, 34, 45, 48. There will also be an addition that I emailed out to you earlier that will be labeled 502, which is from community development regarding software. It will come roughly, it's right after 35, but it doesn't really have a number right now. Check your email if you did not see that. And then an addition of a discussion item on future commission meetings at the end of the meeting today. So additions are 33, 34, 45, 48, resolution 502 related to community development and software, and then a discussion item on future commission meetings. Withdrawals, we do not have any. We have one deferral, number 44. Just 44 on the deferrals, and then the non-consent items include 6, 26, 27, 33, 34, 38, 45, 46, 48, 49, and 50. Once again, non-consent items include 6, 26, 27, 33, 34, 45, 38, 45, 46, 48, 49, and 50, plus, of course, the discussion item. Are there any other items that anybody wishes to pull off consent? Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, do we also need to add to the non-consent the one item that you are adding that's not numbered yet?
Yeah, it's resolution, it's gonna be resolution 502. Let's add that, yeah, whatever.
35B.
35B, sounds good. That'll help us out. So we would also add 35B. Any other items related to the agenda? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to set tonight's work session agenda, if I can speak.
Motion to set the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner
Second.
Beeler, second from Commissioner Durrett, first by Commissioner Beeler. Any further discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please conduct a roll call vote. You're muted, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker,
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler,
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler,
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly,
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs,
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye.
Thank you very much. Our agenda is set. Now move on to approval of the minutes from the January 25th commission meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lundy, first by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion about the minutes? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Schoonmaker,
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler,
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler,
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly,
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay,
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs,
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take a moment before we move on to our regular business to call on Mayor Jacobs to address the commission. Mayor Jacobs, if you are with us, the The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you all know, last week, the Knox County Health Department discovered that a shipment of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine was missing. Over the weekend, Dr. Buchanan requested the Knoxville Police Department investigate this incident. While we have no reason to believe that any criminal activity is involved, missing vaccine protocol advises law enforcement investigation. In addition to KPD's involvement, I have requested that the county's external audit firm, Pew & Company, perform a thorough review of this incident to help us understand exactly what happened and recommend corrective action so that it doesn't happen again. Knox County's policy is to not comment on current investigations. So with this in mind, I am respectfully requesting that you do not ask Dr. Buchanan for information regarding the missing vaccines until the investigations are concluded. Of course, upon conclusion, we will report to Commission the findings and share any information that they reveal. Thank you.
Mayor Jacobs, I have a quick question. I'm not sure if others will as well, but do you have a estimate of the, even if it's a broad estimate of the timeline of both the investigation and the audit? Is this a matter of days, weeks, months, or?
Sorry, Chairman. For the KPD and investigation, again, since we don't think there's any criminal activity involved here, we anticipate that one's going to be over pretty quickly. Within a couple of weeks, I'd say. Pew & Company will be longer. That will be a matter of a couple months.
Are there questions for Mayor Jacobs from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Daly?
Mr. Mayor, could you clarify that according to the news media, we will not accept Pfizer? I believe that is not a true statement.
That's a great question, Commissioner. Thank you so much. What happened was the state asked all the health departments, would you prefer Pfizer or Moderna? Dr. Buchanan stated to the state that she would prefer Moderna because it's easier to handle than Pfizer. Pfizer is the one that has to be kept at minus 80 degrees, and it is really very inconvenient to deal with in the store. So the future shipments should be Moderna, but if there is extra Pfizer, we would certainly take it. And to be clear, we did not opt out or say we don't want Pfizer. Dr. Buchanan just made clear that her preference, if it's available, is Moderna.
Commissioner Smith?
And also, Mr. Mayor, I want to make sure people realize that if you receive the first dose of Pfizer, there will be a second dose.
Yes, thanks for pointing that out as well, Commissioner. And currently, of course, what we're going to do is the missing vaccine was actually second doses. So we have extra first doses. So those will be used for the second dose of the folks that got the first dose of Pfizer. And any further second doses of Pfizer that are needed will be sent to us. But yeah, no one is not going to get the vaccine or a second dose. Unfortunately, this will result in a delay, but the vaccination efforts by the health department continue unabated.
Are there other questions for the mayor from any of our commissioners? Seeing none, thank you, Mayor Jacobs, for the update. We'll look forward to hearing from the results of both the KPD investigation and the internal audit from our team at Pew & Company.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll now move on to the public forum, and we have 3 members signed up. 2 are from our Knox County team, and 1 is from the member of the general public. We'll first call on Mr. Todd Fromeyer to, if he is with us, Rob, I believe.
Just let him in.
Okay. Mr. Fromeyer, if you would put your mic and your camera on, so I know that you are with us.
Thank you, Mayor.
There you are. And if you would please, sir, welcome to County Commission. You have 5 minutes to speak, and please state your name and your county of residence for the record.
Sure. Todd Fromeyer, 1551 Lawrence Glen Lane, Knoxville 37923. I'm gonna make sure I'm seeing the 5 minutes. Okay. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm here to speak on the strategic vision of Knox County. As I understand, the commission will be having a retreat in April on this topic, and I want to offer my thoughts for your consideration at this retreat and in general as you decide how to focus your efforts in pushing Knox County forward over the next 10 years or so. As Commissioner Durrett pointed out last month, this commission has wasted a large amount of its precious time on the Board of Health issue rather than on any of the other items of business that the commission could have been working on. Sure, the mundane and required items have gotten done, but little else of substance that might help the residents of Knox County deal with the pandemic or its effects. For example, on November 22nd, Commissioner Ward posted on his now apparently defunct Facebook page that he was concerned with an enormous increase in suicide and drug overdoses. He also said he was concerned with the economic and psychological damage done to people in our community and expressed concern about companies and families having to file bankruptcy because of Board of Health restrictions. So over the last few months, there have been plenty of moves, mostly by Commissioners Ward and Biggs, to try and replace or undermine the Board of Health as a body. I think now that the Board of Health question is on pause until April, and let's be honest, we all know you're going to vote to get rid of the board in April when it comes up for a vote. How about now you start to address how this commission can help people who have been affected by the pandemic? All those things that Commissioner Ward was so concerned about back in November, you've got time to start thinking about those things now, I would say. Beyond those issues, though, I think this commission should start thinking a little more long-term about the fact that Knox County is changing and growing and will continue to do so. If you've heard me talk before, you know I think the Knox County strategic plan under Mayor Jacobs and before him, Mayor Burchett, has amounted to development for the sake of developers. I think part of the theory behind this so-called strategic vision is to expand the tax base as quickly as possible, make sure there's enough housing for people flooding into Knox County, and so that Mayors Burchett and Jacobs could keep to their responsible pledges of no property tax increases. In the meantime, over the last 20 or so years, while property values have gone up, the property tax rate has gone down 120 cents per $100 of assessed value. And Knox County has cut corners on infrastructure and necessary services for Knox County residents. Our population is growing fast, and it costs money to handle the increase in population we've seen and are going to continue to see. It's not a sustainable path to pay for what needs to get done with a reliance on sales tax revenue and a strategic policy of development to expand the tax base. You should discuss at your strategic retreat what the appropriate rate of property tax should be for the growth we have seen and the growth that is coming our way. Some other issues for your consideration, an issue that's big right now is baseball stadium. And I like how Chairman Jay has described this as a piece of civic furniture. I'm withholding my final judgment as to whether I support this or not, to the extent that you care about this one man's opinion, until I see more details. My problem with going forward with the stadium plan is that I don't think you will actually do anything about other problems in the county. I think you won't buck Mayor Jacobs on a tax increase, which means you won't be willing to fund other priorities in the county. To expand on Chairman Jay's metaphor, if you're not willing to patch all the holes in the roof of our civic house, then why should we be going ahead with a new piece of civic furniture that will just get ruined when the rain comes in through the holes in the roof? Another issue that commission should look at, the sheriff's office recently announced that they'll be adding the thin blue line flag as a decal on new cruisers. This is a tone-deaf move by the sheriff's office and one the commission shouldn't just let go by without some pushback. It's a divisive move and moreover, absolutely unnecessary. The sheriff's office is supposed to be there to protect all of us. That's not what this does. Finally, I want to thank the commissioners who have taken the time to appear on the local podcast, Almost in Agreement. I listened to that podcast and feel like I've gotten a lot more detail about local issues than I would get normally from watching these meetings. I think a majority of you have appeared on his podcast, on Seth's podcast. And I'd like to see the rest of you do so. I'd love to hear from Commissioners Smith, Schoonmaker, and Bustler. So how about it, guys? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Fromeyer. Next on our public forum list, we have our public defender, Mr. Eric Lutton. If you would please state your name and your department, and welcome to commission. You have 5 minutes, Mr. Lutton.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Eric Lutton. I'm the Knox County Public Defender. The address is 1101 Liberty Street, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919. And I'm on the agenda to speak to the commission on the proposed $1.5 million jail expansion, the virtual courtroom that's on the agenda for later today. And I just want to provide a little bit of context about how the criminal justice system works in Knox County. and the way that a facility like that might be able to be used or might not be able to be used post-pandemic. As I'm sure some or many of you are aware, in Knox County, we are currently under a Supreme Court order where we're doing almost everything remotely. Very few cases are being heard in person, but many of them, be they change of plea hearings, be they violation of probation revocation hearings, almost everything is taking place remotely. But I think that it is important for everyone to know and understand that the only reason why we're able to function that way currently is because there's a current Tennessee Supreme Court order suspending the rules of criminal procedure. And for those who may not have spent a lot of time in the courtroom, the rules of criminal procedure is something that is put down at the state level that sort of lays out what the rights are, what the rights are of certain accused individuals, the criminal defendants, but then also sort of lays out the procedure that one has to follow as they navigate through the system. And so while I agree that right now we are facing tremendous challenges in Knox County with lack of infrastructure in terms of conducting things remotely, obviously this caught everybody off guard. I do wonder or worry how much utility this facility would have going forward. My understanding is that if the sheriff's department was not required to seek bids, they could have something operational as early as the beginning of May. If bids were required, what I have heard is possibly September. I don't know where we're going to be pandemic-wise by September. I'm hopeful that we will have had an opportunity to be vaccinated. We'll be able to move past this. But I think that it's important to note that once the Supreme Court order is lifted and we're no longer under the state of emergency status, almost all of these hearings that we are currently doing remotely, we will not be permitted to do remotely absent some sort of other change in the law. And so essentially what the rules of criminal procedure would provide for is that arraignments and initial appearances only would basically about the only types of hearings that could happen remotely. And right now we're already doing most initial appearances occur remotely. On felony charges, those are currently being done by the magistrates remotely. That was the case pre-pandemic. I recognize the facility would open up some availability for child support cases that are heard where that would continue to be able to be used in the future. But there's another aspect to this that I think is important to consider, which is, currently, if it's a felony charge, those are conducted remotely and have been conducted remotely pre-pandemic. That's not a pandemic thing. Typically, though, people charged with low-level misdemeanors are transported to court. And one of the reasons why we've set the system up that way is because it's the drunk tech situation. Somebody charged with criminal trespass or public intoxication, the type of offenses that we see a lot of homeless individuals pick up frequently. A lot of times they're transported to court and they have their arraignment in court. And the DA's office is making offers on those cases. And oftentimes those individuals are pleading guilty to time served. They've spent their couple of nights in jail and they're getting out. In my mind, it would make sense to keep transporting those individuals to court. I mean, you could conduct those arraignments remotely, but you're not actually saving any money, because what ends up happening is that case is now going to get rescheduled because you cannot accept a plea remotely once the Supreme Court order is lifted. And so the person will set another couple of days in jail at the cost of, I can't remember if it's $74 or $77 a day to house somebody in jail. And again, these are mostly homeless individuals or very, very poor. Their court costs are not getting paid. But, it's not like they're paying that $77 back at the conclusion of that. And you're still going to have to transport them. It's just, are we going to pay more money to keep them in jail for longer and potentially increase our jail numbers? And so, I'm not coming here trying to say, I think we should build it or I think that we should not build it. But I think that I wanted to provide the commission that information, be available to answer any questions, and just sort of point out that the only reason we're able to operate the way that we're currently operating is because of this Supreme Court order. And when that goes away, I wonder if we're going to have a facility that doesn't get a whole lot of use.
Thank you, Mr. Lutton. We have a couple questions. I wanted to just start with one question of what is there any pending litigation that you know of on a state level that would change, pending legislation, not litigation, legislation that would change those operating standards that you know of?
I'm not aware of any currently pending legislation, no.
Okay. Commissioner Biggs?
Thank you, Chairman Jay. So, Defender Lutton, are you saying that the courtrooms and things of that nature are still going to be in use from downtown out to where the proposed building site's going to be. And you're saying that specific people that fit a specific demographic are still going to have to be transported back downtown, as well as, is there any way you could email me where the data that you're speaking of, where you got that from, please, sir?
Yeah, I can send you an email, Commissioner Biggs. I can also point you to Rules of Criminal Procedure. Rule 43 lays out when audiovisual equipment can be used. And it's specific for essentially two purposes, either initial appearances or arraignments. There is a provision in Rule 43 also, I apologize, I'm getting too technical, but in Rule 43 that also allows for where a defendant's presence is not required. If a defendant's presence isn't required, obviously they're not entitled to be transported to court. But those are a very limited subset of issues like questions of law where there's no question of fact. So that would be if I were saying that an indictment was invalid on its face or something, that it didn't allege an offense or something, then a person's presence is not required to be in court. So I think that what we're really talking about are initial appearances and arraignments. And I think that when you factor in that we're already doing much of that remotely, you're on the felonies anyway. The misdemeanors, I think that it makes sense to continue to bring people to court, because I think that it helps to keep our jail numbers lower, and you're going to have to transport them to do the plea anyway. So I think what we're really talking about is probably a not super large number of cases that are in criminal court: initial appearances on violations of probation, and initial appearances on new charges.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Biggs?
Yes, sir, partially. I'll circle back after everybody's through. Thank you.
Commissioner Hill? You're muted. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Lutton, for that information. My commission had received an email that the estimated annual savings to our county would be, I believe it was about $100,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken. If we were to build this facility, that it would save in transport. Is it your opinion that it would not result in a savings of transporting prisoners?
I'm certainly not going to say that it wouldn't result in some savings if you weren't transporting those individuals over specifically for criminal court arraignments. I can't really, I feel like I can't intelligently answer the question about $100,000 savings. I'm not in a position to disagree with that. I've not seen that information, and I don't know where those numbers are pulled from to be able to say whether or not I think that would be an actual savings or not. I mean, if those numbers were to include the misdemeanor cases that we currently transport, I would suggest that perhaps you could say that you're going to save money by not transporting people on those misdemeanors. But if you don't transport them today, but the rules are still going to require you to transport them in 2 days, they're just going to spend 2 extra days in court. I don't look at that as an actual savings. And so I guess I would just have to see how those numbers are broken down to be able to intelligently comment on that.
Perhaps you could also stay with us through to the agenda item in case those do come up.
Yes, I would. I appreciate that, Commissioner Jay. I think it's important that we're comparing apples to apples here, and that our elected official and public defender also has equal input and access to these facts and figures that we've been given, because we want to make sure that this information we're getting from all parties is accurate and correct. I have no reason to believe it's not, but this is something that I really hadn't been made aware of until Public Defender Lutton brought this to our attention. So thank you.
Commissioner Daly, I think you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If the sheriff is there, I'd like to hear from the sheriff because what his response is to Defender Lutton. Sheriff, are you there?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, Sheriff, good evening.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Should we not be discussing this during the agenda item? This is public forum, which allows the public to address commission, and we're
Yeah.
not supposed to be into a dialogue.
Yeah,
I believe
I
it's
would.
what our rules say, so.
Well, today we had the only two people on the public forum left are Mr. Lutton and Mr. Hammond from the criminal court office. So I'd like to do this. I'd like to just move item number, what is this? What is that item? Number 27. I'd just like to move item 27 to the front right now. If I can get a motion and a second on item 27, open up the discussion, we can continue the dialogue, bring in the sheriff and just address this matter right here, right off the bat.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Once we get this moved, there still has to be a motion on the floor before discussion can take place.
Correct. So the motion, if unless I hear an objection from everybody, I'd like to just address item number 27 now and move it to the front of the agenda. And if I could get a motion to then again to open up the discussion.
Motion to move item 27 to the front of the agenda.
Second.
Actually, I think I have the ability to, I think as the chair, I just have the ability to move it forward. The motion I would be looking for would be a motion for next week. Is that correct, Mr. Smith?
Motion to move forward without recommendation to our regular meeting.
Thank you very much. Okay, second by Commissioner Daly and a first by Commissioner Smith to move forward to next week without recommendation. And I'll continue to open up the discussion. Mr. Daly, I believe you had the floor and you were calling on the sheriff.
That is correct. If the sheriff wants to come back. Sheriff, do you remember the question?
Yeah, go ahead and repeat it again.
Well, Mr. Lutton said that he didn't think that after the Supreme Court changes the Zoom type meetings, that this building would not be necessary and that we probably would not be useful, I guess, and best I can remember. So I'm just having you to give us your opinion.
Well, I've been on some of the Zoom meetings with the judges and those who are involved with all of this and listened to it, and also had a representative sit in and listen. What I did, let me answer your question first. Depending on what the Supreme Court judges say, there's still talk of continuing using this. One of the things that he mentioned was that they're already doing it, but we only have one video arraignment camera not in each courtroom. So what this is going to do is give 6 video arraignment areas so the courts can be going on at the same time. When I say that, so criminal court can have more than one camera, sessions court can have more than one. And when they're, I guess, not combating, but when they're looking for time to get on the camera to be able to have their arraignments from another court, then you're having delays, which means if some of the civil, criminal sessions, all of those are looking for time to get on there, they can only get on at certain times. So now they're having to bid the time that they want to use that. I see it continuing. And it's not just a money saving issue. It's also a safety factor issue of transportation. I got into this because of all of the issues we were having. And I contacted a couple of the judges and said, hey, what about if I do what I have proposed now about putting a building out there to make this happen? I stepped up to the plate. And I've also heard somebody say, well, can't we just take it out of our budget? I did this for the community of Knox County. This was not just a total benefit for the sheriff's office. This benefits all of Knox County, all the courts, and those people that are involved. And I think that's where I stepped into it. And it seems like well, everybody says the sheriff is now wanting more money for this and that. I did that for a cumulative reason for Knox County.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Hammond. I'd like to get in on the discussion if I could.
Yes, go ahead. Actually, let me, Mr. Ward is up next. Did you want to jump in before Mr. Hammond, or would you like, I didn't know if you had a specific question.
No, let's, no, Mr. Hammond can go ahead of me. That's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask the sheriff one clarifying question on his statement?
Sure, go ahead.
Hello, Sheriff Spangler.
Yes, sir.
When you say there is one camera, do you mean in the current facility you have out there, there is only one camera for use for all the judges at Knox County to share?
There's one for criminal court. There's one for sessions court, civil court, things like that. So if you have more than one in sessions court, if all 4 or 5 sessions are going on, they have to get time for that one.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Hammond, if you would identify yourself and
Yes,
the floor.
Mike Hammond, Criminal Court Clerk, Room 149, City County Building. I have been in discussions on these Zoom meetings that the sheriff referenced. Also, Mr. Lutton was there as well. I've also been in conversation with our judges, and they have given me permission to give to you their thoughts on this. And so I'd like to do that now if I could.
Sure.
I want to give you a couple of figures. First of all, in 2019, the Sheriff's Department transported over 21,000 inmates to the City County Building from the detention facility. That's 25 miles down, 25 miles back, plus the safety factor. They get them up early in the morning, they get them fed, they get them dressed, they transport them to City County Building. Once they get here, then they're in lockdown because they have holding areas where they await their hearings. So, you know, they could be here 1 hour, it could be several hours, you know, waiting on their hearings. Another thing too is that in talking to the different judges, I wanted to address each of them individually if I might. Judge Irwin, our juvenile court judge, is 100% behind this. Now, they have been doing this for 2 years on Skype, and they have 3 magistrates who in the morning will take 15 to 20 minutes each to do the business that they need to do with the inmates at the detention facility. That could be anywhere from 10 to 30 inmates. The issue that they have is with Skype, sometimes the connections are not good. Sometimes things drop in and out, as you might imagine with Skype. So from a technology standpoint, it is not ideal. So he has given me permission to tell you he is 100% behind this, because having a facility where they could actually go in and have the technology right there eliminates the technology problems they have with Skype. But they've already been doing this for 2 years. Another one is our magistrates. Our magistrates will access inmates 3 times a day, at 12:30 in the morning, at 8 o'clock in the morning, and again in the afternoon. What they do is they will take a laptop and they will take it into the pod. Now, as you might imagine, it's noisy. Everybody hears everybody's business, and that's not the ideal way to do these types of things. So the magistrates are 100% in favor of having this facility, just so they can take the inmates away from the pod and have a place where they can go that's quiet, private, and they don't have everybody hearing their business out there. I will tell you that the judges, the criminal judges, all 3 of them are in favor of this. I will tell you, I talked to Judge Jackson today, who has talked with all of the Sessions court judges. They are in favor of this. The reason I'm getting involved is because we deal with the inmates almost every day when they're here. We deal with, of course, the cases that we have. We're also involved in helping with the technology. Another figure that I will throw out for you is that in 2019, and I'm using 2019 because 2020 cases, as you know, is not giving us a really accurate projection of that. But the magistrate's office that I mentioned, they take the laptop into the pod where it's noisy and everybody hears their business, and sometimes they can't communicate because it's so noisy. They actually accessed 5,463 people in 2019. So will this facility be used? Absolutely. It will be used the day that it is completed. The very next morning, you'll have your juvenile judges and magistrates who will access it. You're going to have your magistrates who are going to access it. It's going to give us more opportunity for child support and child custody cases. I do believe that Judge McMillan in 4th Circuit will have an opportunity to use it. So question, will it be used? Absolutely. Now, I'm not a lawyer and I can't address Rule 43 and all of that. I can tell you, though, that our judges have said that they are working with the state Supreme Court, the administrative office of the courts, to talk about how this will work moving forward. Yes, if the pandemic is over tomorrow, there will need to be some changes in the rules with regards to some of the cases that Mr. Lutton mentioned about being able to transport them or not transport them. Those are some issues that will have to be worked out. But I do know that there are discussions ongoing with the Supreme Court about the rules and how the rules could be altered so that more video could be used. But again, that's going to be up to the defense bar, and it's going to be up to the private attorneys and the judges to work that out. That's not something that I have any access to or knowledge of. But I just wanted to let you know that on behalf of the judges, they're 100% behind this. Will it be used? Absolutely. They're trying to use it now. It's just the technology is such that it's creating all kinds of problems, and this would eliminate that. And I just want to say thank you to Tom Spangler for being willing to bring this forward because this is something that will definitely help the court system, not only now, but in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Mr. Ward?
I think Clerk Hammond answered most of my questions. I was just looking to see what the numbers were and how many cases this would be affecting and how they would be affecting. So if you have any other data or information on the actual hard numbers and such, I would be interested in seeing that if either Mr. Hammond or Sheriff Spangler had that kind of data for me.
I'll let the sheriff talk about that. With 21,000 people transported in 2019, again, you're looking at some things that the Supreme Court would have to look at. I don't know what the numbers would be in terms of, but let's say you could save 10%. That's 2,000 people. Let's say you do 20%. You're looking at a lot of people that you would not have to transport. Nobody wants to violate anybody's constitutional rights. If someone wants to be in court and the lawyer says, hey, I want my person brought to court, the judges are going to do that. They're not going to deny that. But if there's an opportunity for them to do some things that could be done by video, and we're showing now that it's working, then there may be an opportunity to do that. But again, that's not my wheelhouse.
Understood.
Commissioner Bussler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sheriff Spangler, got a question for you. How many did you say that you could do at one time right now on this podcast or this casting?
Well, the courts have them in their outside their courtroom. So, and also with the bench, and Mr. Hammond, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think each there's one for sessions, there's one for criminal courts, and they have to buy time, if you will, to be able to get on there.
That's exactly right. As it stands now, I think the sessions judges will use it first, and then they'll come in, and then the criminal judges will use it.
Well, this update, Sheriff Spangler, how many can we do if we do
this will add an additional 6.
So you could do 6 where you're doing 3 at one time now, correct?
That's correct. So it'll be 9 total.
So you're doubling that. So it'd be more efficient, and it would affect the safety also, correct?
Absolutely. Safety and liability is another issue that we want to look at. But, yes, you're correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hill, and then I'll get to Commissioner Smith, and then I have another question myself. Commissioner Hill?
Yes, Sheriff Spangler, just a question of curiosity, really. I keep hearing about safety issues, and I certainly understand that there's always a liability anytime transportation is used. Have there been significant safety issues in the past? I mean, has there been a lot of problems that we just don't know about?
There's an officer safety issue every day, Commissioner. Anytime that we deal with transporting inmates or anything like that, that's the first concern that we have to make. It's not saying that there's anything wrong, that the inmate does anything, but that factor goes up. More trips that you make, that factor goes up of being involved in a crash or anything else. So those are the other things that we're talking about.
I understand that, but is that happening? I mean, are you having significant safety issues, or are you coping? Or is it going well for you?
I'm not having any safety issues, but that's not to say that any happen. that's why we're proactive with those things. But there again, this benefits everybody. It's not just us bringing people down there. That liability and risk is something that we go through every day, anytime that we deal with that.
I hear you, but the way you are doing it right now and what you are doing right now, it sounds to me you feel very good about what your department is doing, and they are more than adequately handling the safety issues. Is that fair to say?
The safety part of that, yes. Anytime that we're having to move somebody, we're always wondering what could or go wrong, and that's what we're always prepared for.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First question is for either Sheriff Spangler or Mike Hammond. When you say 21,000 transports, is that for all types of transports, or is that just arraignments, or is that also trials?
That number was given to me, that's total number. So that's everybody that was taken from the detention facility and brought to the city county building.
Okay, what would that number be for arraignments?
I don't know. I don't have that broken out.
You have to go back for that.
Okay, and Mr. Hammond, you said that Judge Irwin was in favor of this.
Yes.
My understanding, though, is the facility is going to be out the detention center, and maybe I'm missing something on technology, but how would that benefit him?
Well, right now they're doing it anyway on Skype. And so,
Right, but how would he be hooked into this system?
Well, they would be able to hook it up from his office. We would have a video camera in his office out at the juvenile facility. And so he would be able to access them directly from this facility.
Okay, and that is in the plan and the budget?
That would be the plan, yes. We would be able to work that out to make sure that he had access to it.
Okay, I guess I'll address the liability risk aspect of this. Sheriff Spangler is correct. We do not have terrible issues with transportation right now, but mitigating risk is always something where you look to what could happen. There are many things that don't happen a lot, but when they do happen, the cost associated with it is quite high. And this is a fairly risky thing to transport people that far on a daily basis. There is a certain level of risk that could be mitigated by this process.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Sheriff Spangler or a member of your team, do you have any more detail that you can provide? Perhaps, I don't know if it's for tonight, but maybe for next week for sure. Details, kind of like we talked about last month, visuals, blueprints. How did your team get to that number of 1.5 million? Where will it be located? How many prisoners will be served? How did they come up with the $100,000 savings number? I mean, right now we just have a very simple resolution that has virtually no details behind it. Is that information that's forthcoming to us to make a good and educated decision?
It will be. It will be next week. We'll present that to you.
Okay. As soon as it's possible to get it to us, I would love to look into it. I'm certainly in favor of adding opportunity for technology and being proactive. I want to make right now we're kind of getting asked for a blank check, and I want to make sure we have plenty of information to understand it as fully as possible. Let's see, I have Commissioner Daly, and then I have a hand up from Mayor Jacobs. Commissioner Daly?
Go ahead and let the mayor speak, and I'll follow up with the question.
Okay, Mayor Jacobs, I see your hand raised.
Chairman, it's Chris Caldwell. Just to comment on the 1.5 million, we don't anticipate the cost to be that. We wanted to put a not to exceed number on the resolution, so we only have to come once. We do have a term bid that we can use, and we're working through that. And so you'll get more details then, but we've got a term bid that we can use, and we wanted to use a number not to exceed. We think the number probably is closer to like 1.1.
Chris, that was part of my question. How is the bid process working? Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, so we've got a term bid that we can use, and we will utilize that term bid. It will enable the facility to get built. We think in the May timeframe. And so it does help to speed things up by being able to use a term bid.
Can you explain that term bid for some of our new commissioners and public at large?
Sure. So oftentimes we will go out and put bids on the street for term bids for tiers, like not to exceed a certain amount or to exceed 500,000 to $1 million, then over $1 million. And so we have construction companies to bid their services for those things, and we review those bids and then award based off that. Historically, they are awarded. We will award to multiple companies and just kind of rotate the services as we use them.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ward.
Commissioner Daly was before me.
Oh, I think he had his answer. Did you have your question answered? Okay.
Okay. I was just wondering if the sheriff had an idea already what he was planning on doing with the $100,000 in savings.
I don't know that I have anything in mind immediately with it, but obviously it'd be used within the correction side, I'm sure.
Later pickup.
Well, paying for the building over 15 years.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill.
Just one more point of clarification. I heard Public Defender Lutton speak to the what is allowed now as far as these remote hearings go, and you referenced some rulings, Supreme Court rulings, and I don't know, even rulings below that, but I think it would help the commission if we had some clarification as to what is and isn't allowed right now, and where we might be if these huge changes aren't made. I mean, I would hate to, I'm not against this facility, just to be clear, but I would sure hate to build it and then find out that our Supreme Court or federal court or somebody comes down and says, oh, no, you can't do this anymore. It's denying rights, or whoever, whatever they might say. So do you understand my question, Commissioner Lutton or Defender Lutton?
I think that I do, and I want to clarify a point from earlier. It was certainly not my intention. I hope I didn't say this. It was certainly not my intention to say that the facility would get no use post-pandemic. I think that what Judge Irwin has laid out is absolutely an appropriate usage under the law. I don't think that there's any issues there. I think that as the law currently stands, that they would be able to conduct some arraignments and some initial appearances. So I hope I wasn't taken to say that it would serve no value or no use in the future. Just that I wanted to come before this body to try and lay out that if individuals were looking at what is happening in the court system now, that we're not going to be able to just sort of transition to a larger facility and just keep doing it that way. And, you know, I see that the 21,000 inmates transported in 2019, it's not that number goes to zero, you know, by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, that number might dip some. How much, I don't really know. But to try and answer the specifics of your question, Commissioner Hill, there's a Supreme Court order. We actually just got another one on Friday. But it lays out that essentially the rules of criminal procedure are suspended. So that way we can conduct things remotely. So right now, almost everything is happening remotely, just basically with the exception of just about preliminary hearings. Pretty much everything else is occurring remotely right now. And it is a mess. It's a struggle right now for all of us. You know, I am certainly not suggesting, I mean, if we were going to build the facility, if we could snap our fingers and it be here tomorrow, it would get used tomorrow. I absolutely agree with that. I think that what I wanted to make this body aware of, though, was that once we get past the pandemic, unless there is some change in law, and maybe there will be, I don't know, it's not going to get used like we're currently doing remote court. That would not be permissible. So, you know, sentencings would be happening in person. Violations probation hearings would be happening in person. Any time where there's any sort of evidence potentially being taken, or under the Constitution, people have the right to confront their accusers, essentially. And so right now, I don't know what's going to come out of this pandemic. In terms of, I imagine that we'll probably see some collateral challenges to convictions, people saying, hey, my rights were violated because I wasn't permitted to come and be physically present in court. I have no idea how that's going to play out. I mean, this is so unprecedented that I think that it's probably rocked all of our fields, but we're all flying by the seat of our pants a little bit. And I think that it's a credit to Knox County. The stakeholders, we've been working very well together, and I think that we've cobbled together what we can. But I just wanted to make this body to be aware, from my perspective, that going out into the future post-pandemic, that it's going to be very restricted to what can and cannot be done in that facility.
Thank you. And I understand nobody can say for certain. And just one more clarification. When we talk about Judge Irwin using it, he is our juvenile court judge. All of his clients, so to speak, are incarcerated at the detention facilities, which is where he is physically located. Is that not correct?
No, for Judge Irwin's perspective, he's the juvenile court judge, but he also has jurisdiction over child support matters. And so individuals that are incarcerated for non-payment of child support, and Mike, correct me if I'm getting this wrong, but I believe that that's what Judge Irwin was talking about, was the individuals that are incarcerated for non-payment of child support. He's been conducting those hearings. His magistrate's been conducting those hearings remotely and would be able to continue to do so.
That's correct, yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. That cleared up what I was asking. I was wondering if the Judge Irwin would be able to use it for juvenile cases being in a different location.
Thank you for the clarification. Commissioner Ward.
I had a question for Mr. Caldwell. Is there any federal dollars, considering this is somewhat due to the pandemic and it's remote and everything else? Are there any federal dollars or grants that we can apply for or look for to fund this?
In such short order, probably pretty hard. I could, and the sheriff could speak to that more than I. They look for all grants that are out there that are possible to apply for, and we have not discussed any that would fit this mold in this shorter time frame. Okay,
and just a general comment for the sheriff. Me personally, I'd like to see our correction officers get a raise. If we have an extra $100,000, I would hope that it would go and find its way towards them. Just a personal opinion, though, nothing else than that.
If I had $1.5 million, that's where it'd go.
Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess this is for Mr. Hammond, Sheriff Spangler, or Defender Lutton. When you say Supreme Court, you're talking about the state Supreme Court, I'm presuming, right, Eric? Just shake your head, yes. Has there been any other states outside Supreme Court of the United States saying that we can do this, or other states doing this, other courts doing this, or other police departments doing this?
You mean as far as remote arrangements?
Yes,
yes. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe most states are allowing this. You're having most states, because of the pandemic, they're having to do a lot of what we're doing.
Yeah, but is that something that that Tennessee's not doing, that started doing, while other states have already out in front of us doing this?
So I believe that, I guess, can I ask a clarifying question, Commissioner Daly? Are you talking about during the pandemic, or are you talking about outside of the pandemic?
Well, I'm talking outside of the pandemic. Say, let's take Georgia, for instance. Georgia's laws are basically, state laws may be a little bit different than ours. Are they allowing this video court in, say, Georgia, Alabama, wherever, and we're just behind times and trying to catch up?
I can't speak intelligently on what, I've never practiced law outside of the state of Tennessee. And so I don't know how the rules are written, the rules of criminal procedure in other jurisdictions. I can tell you that there are some United States Supreme Court cases specific to plea agreements, for example, that's United States Supreme Court, I'm sorry, not United States Supreme Court, but federal court decisions that basically say that the right to be present in person for a plea hearing is wrapped up in the Constitution. I don't know that that fully answers your question, because we have a lot of hearings that aren't necessarily just change of plea hearings. Although I will point out that in the high 90% of cases do resolve by plea agreement in Knox County.
Well, to save time, I'll send an email to all three of you and try to explain myself a little bit better. So thank you.
Okay, seeing no further discussion or hands raised, Commissioner Biggs, I see yours. Never mind.
Thank you, Chairman. So basically from the talks that we've had from my fellow commissioners as well as the stakeholders, it looks like there's still going to be an opportunity for lawyers to be in person, requesting in person. There's still going to be that option because the inmate's right for due process is kind of what was explained by Defender Lutton. Commissioner Hill pointed out about the security and the incidents that may be there, and there's not really been an incident yet because we're being proactive in specific things. But one of the things that I haven't seen yet is talked about the number of prisoners basically pre-COVID as to what we have now, how many we've let go and things of that nature. And are we expecting an uptick after COVID on bringing more prisoners back into our detention facility, as well as how many are we going to have to hire basically jobs for more security at the detention facility if we build on an extra room for this as well?
Let me address the one part as far as hiring more personnel. We won't need any more personnel because the people that we have here downtown at the courthouse that are in the courts, when that court's not going on, then we will have those officers out at the facility handling those courtrooms.
So if an in-person, basically a lawyer's wanting an in-person, we'll have somebody out at the detention facility and downtown, or if somebody requests an in-person, will there still be kind of two courtrooms going on at the same time? So they'll just do a portion of in-person and then the next day virtual, or can you explain that a little bit better?
That'll be up to the judges and how they do that, Commissioner. I'm not sure what they will do, but the rooms that will be at the facility in that building will also have a room for attorneys to be able to talk to their clients as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Biggs, and thank you, Sheriff. Is there any further discussion before we move forward? We have a recommendation, we have a vote.
I would just like the data of how many prisoners we've released due to COVID. If there's any way I could get that, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman.
If I might, Commissioner Jay, Commissioner Biggs, were you, I'm thinking what I was hearing in between all that is like, if we've got 9 courtrooms going on instead of 3 courtrooms, is that going to require more law enforcement? Sheriff Spangler, how does that work?
I just answered that. That's what I'm saying, that if the courtrooms are not being used here at the city county building and they're Zooming out at the detention facility, then those officers that would normally be here at the courthouse will be out at the detention facility.
All right, so when we're having court out there, we won't be having it at city county building?
No, there'll still be some there, but each courtroom has an officer for it. So you're not taken away from whenever one is out at the facility, you're not taken away from one from here at the building.
Okay.
Any further discussion? I think by the sentiments, Sheriff, if you and your team, everyone is hungry for more data, more visuals, more information, and I'm sure that you'll provide those to us before we move forward next week. So currently we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Daly or I believe by Commissioner Smith to move forward without recommendation to next week. The second by Commissioner Daly. Moving forward, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on that motion?
You want me to read it into the record first, then call them?
Sure.
Item number 27, consideration of a resolution of the Commission of Knox County, Tennessee, approving construction of a video courtroom facility at 5001 Maloneyville Road at a cost of not to exceed 1.5 million to be funded through an estimation and appropriation resolution. This is resolution 303.
Thank you
And
very
I'll
much.
start the roll call with Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler.
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler.
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly.
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay.
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs.
This is being moved forward, no recommendation, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett.
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward.
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. And Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Sheriff Spangler, Clerk Hammond, and Public Defender Letton for your participation and engagement on this issue. We'll talk to you further about it. Thank you very much. That moves us out of first agenda item and public forum, and now we will continue with our regular business. Madam Clerk?
Okay, on page 1, number 6.
Yes.
Okay. This is a consideration of a resolution recognizing and honoring Black History Month. This is resolution R-21-2-101.
Commissioner Lundy, I'll look for you to maybe introduce this and a motion for next week.
Do I go ahead and make the motion now?
Sure.
Okay, I'll move to approve without recommendation.
Second.
Is there a discussion on this matter? Would you like to introduce the resolution and talk about what it is that you hope to present next week?
Yes, I would just thank you for allowing me to present this resolution. It's February is Black History Month. And I'm not the one to just go through the motions of just putting a resolution just to highlight Black History Month, but really want to challenge us as a legislative body to always create policies that support diversity, inclusion, and equity. So that's the premise of it. It gives the history of Black History Month, but next week we can discuss more and reading the resolution. But that's the main thing. I'm in a district that majority of the Blacks live in. We do have a 42% poverty rate amongst Blacks in Knox County. I'll go ahead and throw in that we are fearful as a Black community as far as the stadium. So I just want to know, as we move forward, as we continue to build and grow Knox County, let's not forget that there's a population out there that needs to be heard and are valuable. So just want to highlight that. And remember that Black History Month is just not really just a month. We are a part of American history. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. Just as a clarification, a friendly amendment, if you would, usually with the honorary resolutions, the motion would be to move forward without recommendation to next week. That way, next week we would then approve it and give you the floor for the presentation. Is that okay?
That's okay.
That motion? And is that okay with you, Commissioner Durrett, on the second?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If there is no further discussion, the motion on the floor is to move forward without recommendation to our commission meeting next week. Commissioner Lundy on the first, Commissioner Durrett on the second. Okay.
I'm doing a roll call.
Madam Clerk, yes, please call the vote.
Commissioner Bessler.
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler.
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly.
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay.
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs.
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett.
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward.
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and we'll look forward to that presentation next week from Commissioner Lundy. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
That would be on page 4. Item number 26.
Okay.
Consideration of a resolution approving a contract with Inmate Calling Solutions LLC doing business as IC Solutions for the provision of inmate communication services, Resolution 302.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Biggs with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Open up the floor. I pulled this one from consent just to get more clarification from the sheriff's office about for the last couple of years, we have had contracts with a different vendor. And I'm not sure, Sheriff Spangler, if you or a member of your team wanted to talk about the change in this and the overlap in services.
The overlap in services has to do with just an extension with Securus, because once this bid was awarded to another company, then they agreed to carry on until the other company was able to get things up and running. So that's the reason for the overlap. This bid was up for bid this year, and that's the reason we put it out. I think they have had it for, I don't know, 5 years, for the past 5 years, I believe it was. And so we put it out. We had some issues, but we wanted to also see if there was anything else out there. What we've also learned during the bid process too is that there will be even a more savings on some of the items that we were not getting from from Securus. We will be bringing in more money for the general fund, obviously, and so that's where we are right now.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Commissioner Smith, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sheriff Spangler, I heard you to understand just now that it would be savings and more money for the sheriff's department. What is the cost to the inmate using the service compared to the previous vendor?
It'll be the same cost, but there's other entities that they will pay us that we didn't have in the other contract. I'm sorry.
What entities would those be, sir?
You're looking at the remote video visitation and the video chat, and so those things are something that we didn't get from the last company.
Thank you.
Commissioner Skillmaker.
Thank you, Chairman Jay. Sheriff Spangler, under the old vendor, did we not receive some hardware, some iPads as based on that service? Do we get to retain those, or do they take those back with them when the contract expires?
We retain 300 of those, and then plus the other company will come in and replace what we have to.
Okay, so we did end up, there was a savings from the other contract where we did save, we did, end up with some iPads then. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion, Commissioner Daly?
Yeah, Sheriff, I believe I read in the contract that it's a 2-to-1 on the tablet. Is that correct? For every 2 inmates, you're going to have one tablet?
That's correct.
Any further discussion? Motion is, who had the second on the motion?
Beeler.
Right? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just to make the statement, Knox County taxpayers is not buying tablets for prisoners, just to make sure that everybody knows that. Because the last time it got out that we were buying tablets for prisoners, that is not the case.
Thank you for the clarification. The motion on the floor is to approve, which would put it onto the consent agenda for next week. There's a motion by Commissioner Biggs with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Beeler.
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly.
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay.
Aye.
Commissioner J votes aye. Commissioner Biggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you very much. That moves to the consent calendar for next week. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is on page, so we've already done 27. The next item is on page 6, item number 33.
Okay.
This is a resolution approving a memorandum of agreement with Knox County Planning in the amount of $25,000 for supplementary analysis of the Watt Road interchange and Campbell Station Road interchange as part of the I-40 corridor study, resolution 406.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hill, first by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Is there additional discussion on this item to be added? Seeing none, motion is to approve. It would be moved to the consent calendar for next week.
Point of order.
Yes.
The motion was to approve. It was not to move forward without recommendation. So if it is approved unanimously, it will go on consent. So
Correct.
Point that out.
Okay. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Daly? I'm
Aye.
sorry. Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner J?
Aye.
Commissioner J votes aye. Commissioner Biggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler?
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Be item number 34. This is a resolution of the commission approving a necessary right-of-way slope construction and drainage easement acquisition on 40 tracks for the purpose of widening Coward Mill Road to accommodate a new elementary school, resolution 407.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bustler, I believe I heard first. First by Commissioner Hill. Again, this is a motion to approve, which will place it on the consent calendar for next week. Is there discussion about item number 34? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner J?
Aye.
Commissioner J votes aye. Commissioner Biggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler?
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. And Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Next item is resolution, well, it's number 35B, as we said it. This would be 502 that was emailed to you prior to the meeting.
Okay,
I believe there's a caption on that. Do you have that?
I do.
Okay.
It is consideration of a resolution of the Commission of Knox County, Tennessee, approving a contract with York Working for the provision of emergency rental assistance software services for the term of March 1st, 2021 through March 1st, 2022, which may be extended annually for an additional 2 years, not to exceed an annual cost of $325,000. This is Resolution 502.
Is there a motion to begin discussion?
Since we have seen none of this, I make a motion to move forward to our regular meeting with no recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schoonmaker, first by Commissioner Smith. Is there a member of our community development team that'd like to introduce and discuss this item?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Jenny Holden, the Director of Community Development, and I apologize for the lack of a contract for tonight's meeting. They hope to get that to us tomorrow. The folks at Uncork are working with our law department to change a few things just in the final contract. We were awarded $14.1 million in Treasury funds to provide emergency rent and utility assistance for low to moderate income families in Knox County, including the city. It was a very quick turnaround on the funding, and trying to get this amount of money pushed out between now and the end of December, which is when this money expires, has been a pretty large task. Knox County IT has been wonderful and instrumental in helping us. We have worked on a website where we'll have sort of a one-stop shop for folks that are needing assistance with rent, utilities, or mortgage, knoxhousingassistance.org. Right now, it just says coming soon, but we hope to have information up by the end of this week on what the program is going to, what the requirements are, and requirements for eligibility. And this software package is just going to allow us to be able to have one single application for people so that it'll make it a little bit easier to access these funds and for us to get this funds expended before the deadline, December 31st.
Ms. Holden, on that, thank you for joining us and for that description of the program. Does the $14.1 million include the cost of this software, or is that the pass through and then you're asking us to allocate $325,000 for the software?
The software will actually come out of we can spend up to 10% of the 14.1 million on administration, and that software will come out of that 10% of admin money.
And this is all federal?
It is all federal treasury funds.
Okay. Is there additional discussion, Commissioner Daly?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Jeannie, will this software be used after this 14 million has gone away? Is this something that we can use in the future?
We would love to be able to use this in the future. It's a pretty impressive software system. I don't know, honestly, that we would have this level of funding in the future. This is kind of a much bigger pot of money than what we are typically allocated. So I don't know that we can afford to continue it past this program, but if we could, we would love to do that.
Commissioner Smith?
Go ahead and let Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know. It's different on both sides of the screen. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Chairman Jay. Ms. Holden, so this is just software only. It's $325,000 for a software program.
It is, so they're out of that 325,000, the actual base price for the product is 235,000. There's an additional 30,000 that we are going to spend for customization so we can add our mortgage program in. What they offer right now at that 235 is just the rent assistance. We have HUD funding to offer mortgage assistance, and we wanted to make this a kind of one-stop application. So for that additional amount, they're going to customize this application for us. And then the other, that other 60,000, that is an up to amount for each of these applications that they process. They go out and hit other systems like LexisNexis to check identification, the postal services database to check and make sure that the addresses are actually within Knox County and that it's an allowable expense. So for each of those, there is an additional cost per application of up to about 84 cents. Since we don't know how many applications that we're going to get through this program, I just figured on the high side, I really don't think it's going to come all the way up to the 325,000, but I didn't want to underbid it and then end up being short on the number of applications we need.
Okay, and I was very pleased to hear that our Knox County IT department thoroughly did the quick overview to make sure everything was squared away. And so I appreciate their efforts as well in this matter. Thank you.
I do just have to say we could not have gotten this done without Zach and his team. I mean, they have spent a ton of time helping us with this, and because of the timeline, we just really appreciate their assistance.
We have the best IT department in the state.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jenny, I know you're new to your position. I just wanted to let you know that it's kind of due diligence that we don't approve things without having the contracts before us. It sounds like a wonderful program, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I will have that to you hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow.
Is there any additional discussion or questions for Ms. Holden? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to move forward without recommendation to next week. That was by Commissioner Smith with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Jay?
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler?
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
The next item is item 38, and it is a resolution approving a lease agreement with KVAT Food Stores, Inc. for space located at 4216 North Broadway to be used as a COVID-19 vaccination site for a 6-month term beginning and ending with the option to extend month to month with a rent amount of, this is resolution 603.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I make the motion to,
Commissioner Durrett or Commissioner Smith? I'm not sure.
I made a motion to approve.
Commissioner Smith, would you like to second that? Would anybody like to second Commissioner Durrett's motion to approve?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bustler. First by Durrett to approve, moving it to consent. Open up the floor for discussion. Commissioner Smith.
I make a substitute motion to move forward without recommendation to next week's meeting.
Second.
Okay, that was a substitute motion to move forward without recommendation by Commissioner Smith with a second by Commissioner, I didn't hear, Schoonmaker. Okay, so open up the discussion on the substitute motion or the topic in general. Would anybody like more information on this issue? Commissioner Daly or Smith? I saw you both at the same time.
Go ahead, Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Former Chairman and Chairman. I guess we want to hear from Dr. Buchanan, the process, and then I looked at this contract. This contract's like 140 pages plus long, which is unbelievable, but I think it's being subleased from Mundy Realty, if I'm not mistaken. So if somebody can confirm that we're subleasing through Food City from Mundy Realty, and why is it 140 pages?
So thank you, Commissioner Daly. I hope Mr. Myers, Matt Myers, is on the call because procurement was responsible for negotiating the terms of this contract and the contract that you have before you. So if you have questions about the contract, I will defer those to him.
Mr. Myers, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Matt Myers, Knox County Procurement. Dr. Buchanan is correct. We, were asked to look for a facility to house a vaccination clinic on a much more long-term basis. Commissioner Daly, I think the reason for your question about the 140 so pages is there are obviously some sublessors in that, and we needed to get all the documents together, not just one portion of it, because it's all tied together. So you are correct that Mundy Realty owns the property. KVAT Foods is a sublessor, and we will be a sublessee to KVAT in this agreement if you also approve.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. I think it is a great location after looking at it. You can get off at I-640 and be right in and out. So Dr. Buchanan, what is the start date? Because the contracts kind of confusing. One says, sounds like it starts on August 31st, and then the other one says it ends on August 31st. So I guess, Matt, clarify that. What is the actual start date and what is the actual end date?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Daly. What we're looking for is the commencement date. And the commencement date is in pretty much every lease agreement that you all look at. We still have work to do inside of this building. We don't want the commencement date to begin today and us not take possession of it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So that date will come. We can come back to you and say, we're hoping it starts on March 1st. That's our goal, to get that going. But I also don't want to start the rent before I need to. And once we sign that commencement document, then our rent would start. So that's the reason why that date is blank.
Is there any cost for remodel, or are we the taxpayer going to be stuck with a leaky roof that we'll have to repair, or just one of those I got you? So I just want to confirm that.
Right. No, sir. They own the building. We are simply a sublessee. They are doing some electrical work for the health department that we probably will be responsible for. They are trying to get some additional electrical outlets where I believe its registration would take place. Those will be minimal, covered by operating, through the health department. Will not come back to commission for any type of dollars at that point.
One last question. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Is this going to be inside the building plus a drive-through, Dr. Buchanan?
No, sir. This will be a walk-in clinic. We've really proven that that's an effective way to get people vaccinated. We're able to put through as many people as they can put through in a drive-through with fewer staff. If somebody absolutely can't get out of their car, we'll have options. We'll have people out in the parking lot who can say, call and say, Mr. Smith really just can't get out of his car, and we'll go out and vaccinate him in the parking lot if needed. That's one of the nice things about this facility. There's a way for them to pull up at the sidewalk and at the entrance of the building, and us go out and vaccinate them. We've been able to, with the amount of space that we have, adequately space people apart to keep them safe from exposure, and really, again, put through as many people as you can in a drive-through without worries about weather, with fewer staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is no doubt logistically that this location is ideal in its level parking lot, its accessibility, and it gives the health department a place to function 24 hours a day out of. Not that they'll function 24 hours a day, but they don't have to break down and set up. It's a good location for what they want to do. Director Myers, you and I had a conversation today, and I want to make sure I understand this correctly. Monday owns the building, leases it to KVT Food Stores, which is better known as Food City, who occupied the building on a term lease and built the new building and vacated, but they're still bound by that term lease that they're in, correct?
That is correct.
So we are a subtenant to Food City.
That is correct.
Okay. I would like very much for you to go to Food City and tell them, I guess, about the conversation you and I had today about corporate community partnership, and how Knox County is in a position that we need help, and how much they can help us. If you would, please, sir, do that.
Commissioner Smith, I have already sent a very pointed email. I actually got a phone call after that email from one of the gentlemen that we had been negotiating with. He understands the county's position. He understands, kind of where the situation is at that point. And he assured me that he would send it up the chain of command within KVAT food stores in Abington. So I look to hear from him. I actually sent them the link to the meeting tonight, hoping they would join us. I do not see any of the names on the list, but I did send them the link. So I will report back next week if and when I hear from them.
Okay, and Mr. Myers, I want to make it clear, I'm not looking to kill this lease or this arrangement in any way. We need this. What I'm looking for is a corporate partner that's willing to be there for Knox County in Knox County's time of need.
Understand completely, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Ward.
I asked this question privately, but I wanted to ask it publicly for the record. Did we explore all options and looking at the Knoxville Coliseum and the auditorium there to use for free, the parking across the street? And could you please explain to the public why we did not decide to go with that option?
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. We did look at all of the available city and county properties, none of which really are adequate to meet our needs. When we're talking about, especially when we're talking about 70 and 75 and older folks, the parking at the Coliseum is a challenge. And if you've ever been in the Coliseum, it's not exactly ADA compliant. It's no criticism of the building. It was grandfathered in, but it's really not really easily accessible for those who have ambulation issues. The convention center and other public buildings, again, we have parking issues, and we also have issues with access for those who are handicapped. Getting into the convention center for somebody who's elderly is a challenge. And so and also the other thing, especially with the convention center, not so much the Coliseum, but they have other events there, and we would have to, move out and move back in, which is challenging. So there's the challenge of access, but then there's the challenge for us. So just a little window into the planning of COVID-19 vaccinations. So if we have a vaccine event today, we have to look forward and say, depending on which vaccine we're giving, we need to be able to give second doses around day 21 or day 28. So we need to know that that facility is going to be available day 21 or 28. And we've run into that problem at the expo. We could run into that problem at other places that are going to start having events again or are having events again. So this really is a unique space that meets our needs. And we did really fully vet all other options that would have maybe been free or cheaper, and really did not find them to meet the needs that we have for access for those who are older or maybe have disabilities.
Thank you. I have another question. Now that in theory this passes, we'll have this new facility. We now have our waiting list, which I think is great that we got the waiting list situated and everything else. Are we able as a county to go to the state and say, hey, we've got X amount of people on the waiting list. We have a facility to vaccinate these people. We can create a schedule. Can we have a dump of vaccines to hurry up the process, if you will, or advance the process further, since we are at a now facility and capability of processing through and vaccinating at a high level, given this new facility and its operation?
We certainly could ask the state for that. However, the state is allocating vaccine across the state based on population. We continue to get, slightly more vaccine each week, not a lot more, but slightly more vaccine each week. And so, that the state is using the data based of population to allocate vaccine equitably across the state. And I would not anticipate that they would say, sure, Knox County, we'll give you some more vaccine and we won't give vaccine to Anderson County or Sullivan County, so we can give you some vaccine. I just don't see that happening.
Okay. And then another question, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, are we, the county aspect, county health department, are we doing about 25% of all vaccinations within the county? Is that accurate or not accurate? And are we increase our capabilities given the new facility?
Well, so we will continue to be able to offer vaccine on a regular basis for first and second doses. I don't know that we'll see an increase in the percentage that the health department's doing, because in reality, if we get vaccine out into more places in the community, including this facility, more people are going to get vaccinated. There's some people, it doesn't matter where we are. There's some people who are not going to come to a health department clinic to get vaccinated. They're going to want to go to their local pharmacy that they're comfortable with or their doctor's office. So I believe in increasing access across the spectrum, not just in one location. We are the only county who's really actively partnering with pharmacies and doctor's offices to help the state determine how much vaccine they're getting. We're the only county who's doing events not just in one place. Most of the counties are doing just one location. We're going into senior centers for those folks who maybe can't even go to the food city, or into the African American community. So I believe our approach of offering vaccine in lots of different locations, including this one, really increases access. So we just know that people are creatures of habit, and they may or may not come to a location that maybe they're just not comfortable coming there. So I want to offer vaccine in all the possibilities, all the possible locations we can, so that more people get vaccinated. Our partners are using the vaccine they get. We are using all of the vaccine we get. And as that increases, we'll use as much as we can. Right now, we're doing second or first dose vaccinations every day, and that every weekday, and that will continue, just in a different location.
That's great. Are we able to tell the public what private partners we have so they can go to these other locations and try to utilize the private sector alongside with the public sector? Is there some public knowledge area that we can direct people to?
So the state just recently stood up their vaccination access or vaccination location page. And on that page, which we'll link to from our website, you can go, and if you put in Knox County, you can see all the different partners that are vaccinating. So we'll just link to that website so people, when they go to our website, can see those. So that's out there, and they can call to see vaccine availability.
Do we have currently, with our private partners, the ability to say, hey, you guys have access or excess amounts of vaccines? Can you take some of these people off our list and direct our people from our list that are most vulnerable to these private sector locations? Do we have that current capability?
So actually what's happening is that if a pharmacy or doctor's office or hospital is hosting a vaccine opportunity and they don't fill all of their appointments, they call us and we share information with them from our wait list, so then they can reach out to those folks and get them vaccinated.
Awesome.
So it's a really great community partnership.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Commissioner Biggs.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm trying to just wrap my mind around it real quick. So it looks like we reached out to Food City. Food City basically said that it's a land lease through Monday Realty, and that's going to run us about $5,700 a month. So per Commissioner Smith, we're reaching out to President Smith to see if there's a possibility of a better deal. And through the state, I was trying to listen to what Dr. Buchanan was talking about, but also, did the state not just announce last week that they're going to open up to Walmart? Basically, they were like awarded a contract. Can you speak on that, Dr. Buchanan?
Sure. So the Walmart partnership is actually part of a federal partnership. And so those vaccinations will be coming not out of Knox County's allotment from the state, but out of the a federal allotment for those pharmacies in the federal partnership. So that comes out of a different pot of vaccine, not out of our pot of vaccine through the federal government. And again, back to the idea that the more places vaccine is available, the more people will get vaccinated. I welcome that. I look forward to them activating more pharmacies, larger pharmacies, so that people can get vaccinated. So again, that's not coming out of our allotment. That's coming out of a different allotment, which I'm happy for, because hopefully, because my understanding is they're standing up. I think they're potentially standing up several Walmarts in Knox County, and they're able to do several vaccinations a day. Excuse me, I believe 7 days a week, which is great.
Thank you. And my second question is one of the things I was getting multiple emails about is the way that the line is designed for the elderly, so that they aren't out in the elements as long. Is there any kind of schematic or anything we can see before next week to kind of show some of our constituents that this is not going to be as big of an issue as it might have been prior?
So I think everybody's going back to that first event that we had where it was a come one, come all. We haven't had that line since then. What we're doing now is people are waiting in their car until their appointment time is available, and then they're asked to line up. And so each 15 minutes, I won't say the numbers because I'll get them wrong. I don't recall, but we have so many appointments every 15 to 30 minutes. And when your appointment time is up, we tell you it's up and you get in line, and you only have to wait with 15 people or something like that. So we don't have people waiting outside. We can certainly try to get you a schematic or the plan, or even maybe some pictures from a clinic to show you what we're doing. Because again, it's kind of a combo drive-through walk-in, because we're having people wait in their car until it's time to come in and get their vaccine. So really reduced wait times, but people are still getting through quickly. So I'm pretty proud of my staff for coming up with that idea of, hey, why don't we let them wait in their car where it's nice and warm, and then they can get up and get in line. And most of them I think are probably waiting inside the building and not outside.
Thank you. It's just something to email back.
Sure,
Like,
absolutely.
I appreciate your help.
Commissioner Bustler?
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. A couple of things. We were talking earlier about Food City and partnershiping with Food City. Food City, we've been partnering with people in Powell and Halls for community and food drives and all like this, and they've been doing real well for us in that area. And they have been contributing, and they have been helping out our areas, especially some of the churches that have the Super Bowl drive where they get cans of soup and send it to some of these food banks. They sell it at a real good price, a lot lower than we can get anyplace else. So they have been fostering and helping communities out, and to try to put pressure on them to do that when they're already doing things, you're going to hurt some other people too. They'll probably try to help as they can, but they've been helping out all along for years back out in our area here. The other thing about Walmart and that, I've got some information where they have 11 different Walmarts in Shelby County that they've got lined up that's doing vaccinations. And sometimes you can get that information from the state where they're partnering with those type individuals. And even local pharmacies, little local pharmacies that are in Union County and in Granger County have been giving out vaccinations too and been doing a real good job. And again, if you want to find out, it's on the state website, and they can tell you where they have these vaccinations in the small counties also. So there's things out there. We just got to find out how we can get that information. And what you can do is, it's one of those things out in our area. People call you all the time saying, hey, did you know that you're getting ready to do this at this one location or this other location? And the community really helps out. So it's out there. And I don't know how the community gets it so quick, but they get it quicker than I've ever seen. And I get calls every day where they're giving out vaccinations. So you just got to keep your ear to the ground, and you can hear people that are helping each other out. So again, be careful with my Food City out there that helps us out there for drives for charities and things of that sort. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bustler. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Buchanan, this contract is, I think as Commissioner Daly pointed out, it doesn't have a start date. What is the anticipated and then after you answer that, I got a few more questions.
So Mr. Myers can chime in, but our anticipated start date is the first week of March.
Okay, and so that would put us at about 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're currently administering first doses. What are we going to put in place to make sure people know that this will be the place to go for their second dose and not back to, I assume, the expo center where most people are getting it right now?
So actually, we're currently administering both first and second doses in a variety of locations, but they will be notified via email, or we'll call them to let them know. We'll also put it on our social media pages, but they'll get reminders about their appointments and be reached out, and we'll reach out to them to let them know where to go for their second dose.
Okay, and the funds for this, where do they come from?
The funds for this are coming from the some of the COVID funding that we got, not the CARES Act, but there was another allocation of funding that came through some kind of laboratory prevention thing. I don't remember, it's some federal program that we get funding through, and I apologize. Kevin Parton, I believe, is on the phone. He may remember exactly what the funding is coming from, as he remembers those things better than I do. Kevin, do you recall?
If you could just identify yourself, Mr. Parton.
Sorry.
Sure. Kevin Parton, Knox County Health Department, 140 Dameron Avenue. We received a ELC funding, epidemiology laboratory capacity grant last July. That came through commission, and that will be getting reimbursed for almost all of our COVID activities via that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Smith brought up my question, but since this is the printing press out of Washington that's going to be spending the money for this, we don't need to be asking Food City to not take some of that money for their rent and everything. I don't think that would be right, since this is federal dollars. If it's Knox County dollars, I think it'd be a different story. But that's my opinion. So let's use the federal dollars and take care of our own, as Commissioner Bustler says. Dr. Buchanan, I just seen the email come through that we're going to 65 plus. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The state made that decision to move to 65 plus and 1B today. They announced that, and to keep in line with, to be congruent with what we've done in the past, we're going to move with them as well. That doesn't mean we've finished all the 70 and older folks, nor does it mean we've finished all the 1A and 1B folks, 1A2 and 1A1 folks. But it just avoids confusion. Our constituents do not necessarily stay within the county lines, and folks from other counties come here to get vaccinated. Folks from our county go to there to get vaccinated, just to keep it congruent and equitable across county lines. We made the decision internally to move with the state when they move. And so we're working right now to change the information on our website and on the wait list so that those folks can sign up for the wait list.
Okay, we're at what, 55, 60,000 vaccines now, vaccinated?
No, sir. We're at, I believe, 72,000. But I can go look at our website and tell you for sure. But I think it's higher.
I know it's a high number. So my question is, that 70 plus, or do you think we're at 50% vaccinated, 80%? What do you think?
I don't, and I could look at the data, but I don't think we are not that high on that percentage, that population. We might be at have vaccinated about a third of those folks. You know, we've only been vaccinating them for a couple of weeks now, and I doubt, I would be hard pressed to say that we're at that high a level.
The numbers that we're getting, or I've been told, we got 75 and over is about 35,000 people. Does that sound right?
That's correct. And then you add, it's about 20,000 more people, I believe, And when you add in the 70 and older, again, that's off the top of my head. So let's see, 61 to 70, we've vaccinated about 11%, 71 to 80, 28%.
Okay. This 65 number, does that, I don't have it in front of me, so I want to, hopefully you remember, is this next group teachers? Is this part of the teachers going to be in this group?
Yes, sir. The state also moved to 1B, which is teachers, childcare providers, and actually parents who care for disabled children at home as well.
So what do we got on the waiting list now? Do you know how many, what's the number? Last I heard was 6,500.
9,000.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it's 9,000 now, isn't it?
I think that's correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then this will probably add another 10,000 to it. That's 65 plus the teachers, which is, the teachers, we got what, 3,000 personnel. I'm guessing, I don't know, but
Actually,
thank you, Dr. B.
it's quite a bit higher than that when you add. So Knox County Schools alone has about 9,000 staff, teachers and everybody included. Then you add the private schools in there, daycares, our childcare, and all those folks. It's a large group, and we are actively working with our community partners like the hospitals to have a coordinated effort to increase access to vaccine for teachers in the 65 and older. We're actively working with schools for a plan on how to communicate through the school about vaccine opportunities for teachers, and not just the public schools, but the private schools as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. And my suggestion to the people that call me, I try to give them from the VA to their private doctors and everyone, but we can't vaccinate. There's 7 million people in Tennessee. It'd be great if we had 7 million doses, but we don't. We got to be patient. I'm 61, so I'm standing in line. So thank you, and thank you to the health department for all you do.
Thank
you very much. Dr. Buchanan, I just wanted to clarify the numbers and the data that you report on the number of vaccinations. That's only for the health department of Knox County. That does not, you're not recording or have any information of data from other private entities, other hospital groups, et cetera, correct?
Actually, no, so the state started reporting out vaccinations by county and providing us with that data. So actually that 70,000 plus number that you see is a combination of what we've done and our community partners. There have been several small pharmacies activated, and our hospitals continue to vaccinate.
Okay, good. That's a new update. So that's great. And then also, could you just clarify for the public, you'd mentioned that some of our residents go other places and other residents from other counties come here. Could you just explain why, we've had this discussion before, but I think it's worth repeating why it is that a Knox County resident can go somewhere else, and why an Anderson County or other resident can come here, and why that is set up that way statewide or
Sure.
federally?
Sure. So the vaccine is a federal asset, and it's purchased by the federal government. And so therefore it is for all people who live in the United States. It's not just for Knox County. And so statewide, we've made that decision. All of us are vaccinating people from other counties because we just want to get everybody vaccinated. And so it's open to anyone who lives in the United States to get vaccinated because the federal government has paid for this vaccine.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to call again on sort of final comments across the board. I want to make sure we don't get too far off topic, although this is really good information about our vaccine program. We are actually voting on item number 38. So I want to sort of move to final comments on 38, and then we can continue other discussion beyond that. Commissioner Ward?
Just a clarifying question. We are working on a plan to vaccinate the teachers, or we have a plan to vaccinate the teachers? I couldn't hear that comment.
So we are working to gather information to be able to vaccinate the teachers. Teachers can go now that they've been activated, they can go to any clinic that is available and open. But we're coordinating with our hospital partners to have a group effort to get teachers vaccinated, and as well as those over 65 now. But we'll be focusing on teachers and working on gathering information to move that forward.
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
Short answer is we're working on a plan.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Buchanan, do you have all the money you need to take care of all the people you need to get us through this pandemic?
Honestly, I would say, Commissioner Smith, that we do. I mean, we got a very large amount of money from the federal government through the ELC grant. And we're being very judicious about how we use that, but we're funding the things that we need to fund. And we're also, moving staff around to better serve the current needs of our response, which are mostly vaccine. So I feel like we do have adequate funding. Kevin's our finance guy, so he would probably say we always need more money. We could certainly, we would put more money to use, but I feel like we're adequately funded.
Okay, and that's kind of, and I'm not trying to knock Food City, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'd rather spend money on people than building. And we don't know how long this is going to last. To say we've have everything we need is, we don't know how long this is even going to last. How long are you going to have to operate at the level you're all operating? We don't have an end date yet. I just am a firm believer in being conservative, not spending what you have to on certain things so that you have it to spend on the other things you may need.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. The current motion on the table is to move forward without recommendation. This is item number 38. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on that item?
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
I want to, for just a second, sorry, I want to clarify. This is a vote on to motion for Commissioner Smith, with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker to move. I want to get clear. Go ahead.
Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler?
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay?
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you very much. That is moved forward to next week. I want to take a break now. We've been here for 2 hours. It's 7:03. I'd like to take a 15-minute break and just put this meeting into recess. That would be returning at 7. We'll shoot for 7:15, but we'll say 7:18 for official. Give everybody a chance to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. So this meeting is in recess. Rob, it looks like we have most everybody back, or we're heading in that direction. If you want to spool us up again, or have you kept us?
We're good.
Okay. I'm gonna call this meeting back into order. It is 7:18, 7:17. And let's see, do we have everybody back with us? Yes, okay. Madam Clerk, what is the next item, please?
That would be item number 45 on page 7.
Okay.
Resolution 804.
All right. Go ahead and.
Consideration of a resolution of the commission authorizing an amendment to development agreement between Knox County and B&A Associates LLC relating to the Andrew Johnson Building, Resolution 804.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve without recommendation.
Move forward without recommendation by Commissioner Lundy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bustler. Open up the floor for discussion. Okay, seeing none, we have a motion to move forward without recommendation by Commissioner Lundy with a second by Commissioner Bustler. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Durrett.
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward.
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler.
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler.
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly.
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay.
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. That moves forward to next week. The next item, Madam Clerk.
Okay, item number 46. This is a resolution approving a contract with Kimberly Horn to provide engineering and design consulting services for Knox County Carter Park ADA compliance plan with a cost of $232,600, Resolution 901.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Beeler, second by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Schoonmaker, you asked for this one to be pulled. I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I've got a couple of questions on this. Is Cindy on here? Cindy Bianchi?
I believe she is. If you could turn your camera on and microphone on, Ms. Bianchi. I see her there.
I do too. There we go.
There she goes. Hello.
There we go.
You can just identify yourself, please.
This is Cindy Bianchi with Knox County's Department of Human Resources.
Thank you. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Chairman Jay. Cindy, to start with, how old is the Carter Park?
I believe Carter Park goes back probably to the 1980s. I tried to research it early on, but I can't remember for sure, but I want to say it was in the 1980s.
Okay. And then this allocation is only for design services. There is no construction costs involved in it. This is just for...
This is strictly for the design purposes. It'll take care of the surveying and design for everything that's on the site. Basically, Carter Park is 30-some acres and has a lot of facilities out there, including you've got a library and a senior center in property. Oops. I just lost the picture there. And then you also have 3 baseball fields, 3 softball fields,
a soccer field, batting cages, a pavilion, a playground, a basketball court, concession stands, restroom buildings, and a 0.3 mile of a walking trail.
Okay. And I noticed in the documents that were submitted with our agenda that the original architectural report was dated May of 2018. And then the survey. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you finish your train of thought and I'll fill you in.
Okay. And then the draft report was done in February of 2019. So here we are 2 years later. Is any of that information still relevant?
The information is still relevant, but as part of this contract, they're going to go back out and reassess the situation to see what else may have changed since they did the original transition plan.
Okay, so basically we're kind of paying twice because of the lapse of time?
They have access to the information from the last time, but the key to it is they're going to go out and see if anything else has happened since they did that last assessment for the transition plan.
Okay, and it says in the contract that they're going to, they reference the 2010 ADA standards, and it's kind of my oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, the 2010 standard is the current ADA standard to go by.
Well, it's been my understanding that the ADA standards seem to be kind of a moving target. As an example, we just finished a new Carnes Senior Center about 3.5, 4 years ago, and that was built up, that was done to the current ADA standards. But if we went out there today, there's about 14 to 16 items that are not current. So if we're going back to something that's 10-year-old standards, you know, are we better to wait till they come out with the 2020 standards? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Well, the problem is things that have been built since 2010 and even before that, because ADA has been around, it'll be 31 years this summer. The problem is we have continued to build things that are not ADA compliant. So some of the things, like even as recent as the Carnes Center, should have been built correctly but weren't. And we're going back and trying to get those adjusted as well.
Okay, and then do I remember from a previous analysis that we have about, what is it, about $48 million that we need to spend to upgrade all of our facilities to ADA standards?
I think it's double almost, isn't it?
Or 78 million something?
It's more like 80 million over 40 years. Yes. But we are trying to systematically go at it in terms of things that can be done through a maintenance program, that those are moving forward. This particular project is a very good project because it hits on several items in terms of you've got the library, you've got the senior center, you've got the park, right. And my understanding that the schools even use the ball fields out there. So we'll be getting a lot of bang for the buck on this one.
Okay, and so once we pay for the design standards, do you have an idea of what the expected cost will be to bring it up to ADA standards?
As part of the design process, the engineer will give an opinion of the probable construction cost. That is included in this contract.
But you don't have a rough guess now?
Not right now, no.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Cindy, follow up on John's question. To clear, did we pay in 2018 and 2019 this consultant any money?
Yes, sir. This firm actually did our original transition plan that we went through an RFP process, just like we did for this project. And I want to say the contract at that point was about $1.1 million, and they assessed all of the county maintained facilities. And that includes, as you know, quite a few. There were like At the time, 86 schools were evaluated, 47 parks, 6 senior centers. I want to say there was about 15 PBA managed facilities that were looked at, 18 public libraries, about 86, I think, signalized traffic signals. There was probably about 140 miles of sidewalks that were evaluated, and there were another 1,300 some unsignalized driveways and intersections that were looked at also. So it's quite a lengthy review of our facilities, what they did.
So this contract is another extra 200 and whatever it is to just do Carter Park. So when we do I.C. King or Maloney Road Park or whatever, are we going to have to spend another $200,000 or $300,000 to the same engineering company to update it?
Not necessarily. This is as I said, this is a very old park, and this is probably based on it's a recreational park. And from the perspective, when we went out there to visit it, the Dagwood Committee went out there, and that's our disability advisory group, went out there with Shauna Godlewski and I. She was with Parks and Rec at the time. And we went out and looked at the facility, and it needs a lot of work in terms of what needs to happen. Topographically, one of our members on Dagwood actually gets around with an electric wheelchair, and she had to put on her seat belt in her wheelchair to go from the parking lot up to the pavilion where the picnic tables were. One of our other members who has MS, she was getting around that day with her walker. She didn't even attempt to go up the grade to get to the picnic pavilion because she was very worried that she was going to fall coming back down the grade. So like I said, this park just has a lot of issues that we felt really needed a very strong look at by somebody who's by a company that's very well known for dealing with ADA issues. And that the lessons that we learned from this one, we can carry over to our other parks facilities.
Well, I'm sure I've been to the Carter Park and I understand, and I'm sure it's needed, but I just don't want the taxpayers to be paying twice for a study. And I hope you understand when I say that.
Well, the study identified, the previous plan identified where the problems were. This is actually going to provide the design for how to fix those problems that were found before. And that's what the difference is. Part of the problem is across the board on all of our parks facilities, the findings from the previous study were that in addition to the parking lots not being accessible, there were no accessible routes from not only the parking lots to the different functions that you can get to at the park, but between functions at the park. Like you couldn't get from, say, the picnic tables to the playground. You actually had to go across the ground. There was no sidewalk or pathway or anything. And so I have no idea if one of the recommendations that comes out of this in terms of their design that they come up with, if they're going to recommend like maybe even relocating where the playground is from its current facility, or if they're just going to recommend installing a sidewalk that is actually ADA compliant.
Thank you, Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, Cindy. I want to try to get some background into this to try to make it a little more understandable. The federal government required us to put together a ADA transition plan. When we were doing that process, we signed a contract with this company to get us an overall assessment to put together this 40-year plan. Part of the ADA compliance is you have to make progress towards that 40-year plan. I'm assuming this is the first step, and we've chose this property because of its deficiencies. So now the company comes back and looks at in fine detail at what needs to take place, whereas the overall assessment was more of a general broad range plan This is a more defined, this is what is going to be required to become compliant.
You stated that very well. And you are correct.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification on that. Is there any other comments or discussion on item number 46? Thank you, Ms. Bianchi. Seeing none, motion is to approve by Commissioner Beeler and a second by Commissioner Smith. If it is unanimously approved, it will end up on our consent calendar for next week. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Durrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker,
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler,
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler,
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly,
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner J.
Aye.
Commissioner J, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Commissioner J votes aye. Commissioner Biggs,
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Ms. Bianchi. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Okay. On page 8, item number 48 is a resolution requesting that the members of the Tennessee General Assembly representing Knox County introduce and seek passage of a legislative bill regarding state and local tax revenue allocations for a mixed-use stadium in Knox County. This is Resolution 903.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second, Commissioner Beeler.
Second by Commissioner Beeler. I just want to introduce this really quickly. As you can see in the resolution, this is basically a statement of encouragement to our state delegation. When we had our state delegation meeting just a couple of weeks ago, one of the topics was legislation around proposed stadium and how the state must pass a piece of legislation to allow for the collection of taxes in a certain zone as it relates to the overall plan for a stadium. And head of our delegation, Senator Massey, asked if we would, it would be helpful if we would pass a resolution in support of their efforts to pass such a legislation. This is, of course, one piece of a much larger discussion, but you have the resolution before you, and it is essentially a statement from us as the legislative body of Knox County, encouraging them to pass forward on that and give us another tool to be able to consider a future downtown stadium. So that is essentially the overall view, and open it up for discussion with Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If this passes unanimous, I think we ought to have this as a commission resolution as a whole body. I think it would look better.
Okay, would everybody like to sign on to this? Just raise your hand if you would like to add your name as a commission. I agree with that. That's a good point, Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the resolution, how did we ended up deciding that it would just be a quarter mile from the center point of the stadium, as opposed to a third of a mile or a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile?
Perhaps Chris Caldwell could answer that, but I'm pretty sure the answer is that matches what the what the legislation on a state level allows and is sort of a precedence for other similar projects. But Mr. Caldwell, is that accurate statement?
And Mammoth is on here too, and he can speak to this as well. As
Okay.
he helped to write that, so I'll just defer to him.
Mr. Mamontoff, if you could identify yourself and name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Martin Mamontoff, 1215 Great Oaks Way, Knoxville, Tennessee. The quarter mile is not in the legislation. This is something that we spent quite a bit of time talking about. If you go much beyond the quarter mile, it'll start overlapping with the CBID, and will conflict with the TDZ, the existing incremental sales tax district that's in effect for another 7 or 8 years. We felt that we would stand the best chance of success if we tried to avoid that overlap to the maximum extent possible. The quarter mile picked up all of Mr. Boyd's proposed $140 million development immediately surrounding the stadium and some very nice developable, I can say that word, lots around the stadium as well. And these types of sales tax districts are always a challenge with the legislature, and obviously we would very gratefully appreciate your all support to encourage our legislature, and they've been great working with us, but we felt like that was a very realistic goal, and that if we went much beyond it, that we might get more pushback from the state. And this was based on input that we just received from folks that were knowledgeable in that area. So the feedback as to the size from folks in Nashville, but also as to not trying to overlap with the existing TDZ was the thinking behind that quarter mile radius.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I have a follow-up question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mark?
Yes.
What is the center point? Is it going to be home plate or pitcher's mound for that quarter of a mile?
Center of the stadium, actually, I guess it's right behind. That's a great question. We debated home plate, pitcher's mound, and we went with just the actual center point of the stadium. Mr. Boyd's Doug Kirchhoffer assured me that can be accurately located and can sort of be like the fixed point from which we would measure. And if we have other things like soccer or lacrosse or things, we may move home plate or the pitching mounds. We tried to pick something that was not ever going to be moved. So it went from that.
Thank you, Commissioner Daly. Madam Clerk, before we call the vote, I would like to request that this resolution be changed to be requested by the full commission as indicated by our members.
Okay.
And seeing no further discussion, if you would please call the vote on this item. This is a motion to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Belay.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Beeler?
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Jay?
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Biggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. And Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you all for your support on that item. Next item, please.
Okay, this is item number 49. Line item transfer, total amount $160,500.90.
Motion to move forward with no recommendation.
Second.
First by Commissioner Schoonmaker, second by Commissioner Bessler. Is there any conversation on item number 49? Motion is to move forward without recommendation. Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Okay. Commissioner Biggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. Commissioner Jay?
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Beeler?
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Durrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett votes aye. And Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
This is line items, budget amendments. Item number 50.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Daly to approve with a second by Commissioner Smith. Is there any discussion on this item, Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Chairman Jay. I was wondering if Chris Caldwell just wanted to give us a quick overview of this.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is just budget revisions that we get monthly. We're going to bring these to you at least quarterly, and they just kind of show you what they are. So if you look under the general fund, it would be things that's related to like forfeitures in the sheriff's office. So instead of bringing those every month, we have found a way to bring those at least quarterly. And so there are amendments that happen throughout the year, and we want to bring them more regularly.
Okay, and then on the adopted budget for the general fund, the second one, the designation of the 5.2 million, that is what we approved this past summer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote on item number 50?
Commissioner Jay?
Aye.
Commissioner Jay votes aye. Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly votes aye. Commissioner Beeler?
Aye.
Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Bessler?
Aye.
Commissioner Bessler votes aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Aye.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes aye. Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward votes aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith votes aye. Commissioner Dorrit?
Aye.
Commissioner Dorrit votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. And Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs votes aye. All members present voting aye.
Could you clarify for me, Madam Clerk, was that a motion to approve or a motion to move forward?
Approve
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
on the line items budget amendments.
Budget in. Okay,
Yes.
great. So that'll move to consent for next week. Okay. Thank you very much. Next item, I think our final item, Madam Clerk.
Item number 51, it says here
That'll-
at the BOC.
Yeah, that'll be next week. We had the discussion item. I can add it. I can introduce it if.
I don't have.
Okay, it was a discussion item about future commission meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And there's not really a number. This is our last item of business for the night, and I just wanted to bring this up tonight after our discussion this afternoon in the Rules Committee. And I wanted to get some feedback and comments from each of you all. If you remember, I think it was several weeks, maybe it was a week or two ago, I sent out a letter to all of you all, basically outlining that this month's meetings would stay in a virtual environment, but that all indications are that our numbers are, COVID numbers are continuing to decrease while our vaccinations are continuing to increase. And that I felt like if things were moving back to or continuing on that trend, that I would plan to move back into in-person meetings beginning in March, and sort of indicated to that. We had a pretty robust discussion and a good starting point today in our Rules Committee about the role and responsibility of the chair and the vice chair. And although I'm still a bit confused, essentially was recommended by the law director that this really is this is a vote for the whole committee or the whole commission and not just for the chair. And although I'm still confused about how a committee chair can make certain decisions and the regular chair of the whole commission, and there's still lots to be decided upon or discussed, essentially it was recommended by our law director that I bring this up tonight, talk to you all about it, and that going forward, all determinations of how we should have a meeting should actually be per vote by the commission as a whole. And we went through many scenarios about what happens if the sprinkler system breaks and the whole place floods in the city county building, and what do we do? And my understanding is that the direction of the law department is that for any such meeting decisions like that, if you have to call a special called meeting just to decide on the next meeting, then it has to be a vote of the whole commission. So I just bringing the discussion up to sort of reiterate my intent, but also to get feedback and try to get some clarification as to who is supposed to make what decision, because it is still very confusing. And at some point we needed to collectively decide which way to go and how should we handle this going forward. So all that to tee up anybody who would like to jump in on this. And one of our former chairmen has raised his hand first, and that is Commissioner Smith. So I'll open the floor to Commissioner Smith and begin this discussion item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In normal times, this is a pretty straightforward question. Our rules state very clearly that our meetings are set out on dates and times that's predetermined by the agenda we set, with the only exception being if a meeting falls on a legal holiday. Discretion is given to the chair at that point. As far as in-person Zoom meetings, I don't really think our rules address that aspect of it. I think it does address the times, the dates, those things.
That's the
in the
that's the
event a
discussion.
meeting falls on a legal holiday, the chair shall convene the commission on a date and time set by the chair. That's a legal holiday. The rest of these are predetermined when it seems like we vote on our schedule every year.
We don't vote on our schedule every year. That's the what you've gotten to is the main crux of it. There is more description of what a committee chair does in our rules than what a chair of the commission does. And I am hoping to seek to clarify those roles and responsibilities for all future chairs. But what you've just gotten to is a perfect example of, it says nothing about natural disasters. Perhaps, let's say there was a bomb threat in the building. The sprinkler system went off and it was flooded. There was some sort of other natural disaster. There is nothing to say who makes the determination of where do we meet and how do we meet. And that certainly comes down to the earlier conversation and the disagreements amongst commission back in December of, do we meet in person or do we meet virtually? So there's nothing that addresses the abnormal times, and that is the crux of where we are today, and why I wanted to bring this up going forward.
Okay, so would that fall into the terms of like a special meeting, because it's not a normal meeting if it's going to be virtual? And it seems that the way we've always done that is to go to the chairman suggests something and it is voted on in the commission forum.
Yeah, there's just nothing written down that shows the precedence when, and to just go back and forth a little bit on this before calling on others, this is sort of the codifying of what has been versus tradition versus what is. That's really the crux of the matter. When it comes to your other question was, don't we vote on our schedule? And the answer is no, we don't. There is a whole list of things that, at least from my experience when I became chair, that you immediately do with the commission office of sitting down, working through this calendar, working through the thing, going through, the organization of the session, so to speak. But what you're getting to is exactly right. It's about the sort of what is the precedence versus what is actually written. Oh, you're muted again, Commissioner Smith. You're muted.
We could get into writing all kinds of scenarios out and have a 600-page rule book. I think we could set some fairly simple parameters which to work within.
Commissioner Bustler and then Beeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is looking like got a solution, looking for a problem here. If you have a problem with the water mechanism in the city county building, you have a PBA that controls the building in and of itself. If you need a special meeting for a natural disaster, we have a process in that we talked about in the Rules Committee in November that I was trying to say, that we can call a special meeting, but in conjunction with both the mayor and the chairman that we were looking at. So there's a lot of things going on that about, who calls this and who calls what. And normally it takes care of itself. We got a 911 commission that also sets up, that does other things to put a coordinating person in charge that coordinates all this. We need to let the process go through. We've got a way of handling natural disasters. We've got a way of handling, pandemic like what we're doing now. And I think we're just putting more things on that we really don't need because it's not made real clear, but we are handling it. And I think commissioners can handle their own problems. And look out here, we've got commissioners on here that would have a suggestion on how to handle some of the problems. So, and that's what we were asked to do, to handle things like in our charter, which we normally do. We've got a place for special commission or a special, where we can call a special meeting. So I'm not sure why we're putting extra rules in place when we can handle what we've got with what we've got in the charter and in what we've been doing in the past. So that was my suggestion on it. And I would like other people to chime in to see what they have to say. We talked about a lot about it this afternoon. So we'll lower my hand and listen what other people have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Beeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'm just a layman, but I think first of all, it's important to note that the only reason that we are able to meet electronically is because the governor of our state put down an executive order that allows us to do that. The question is, in that sense, or in that instance, who decides whether we do meet electronically or in person? This is not something we could just do all the time. This is only in a season like this. Like I said, I'm a layman, but I don't think whether we choose to meet electronically or in person under such an order is a legislative issue. I think it's a rules issue. And I think the commission can vote one time and give the chairman the discretion to decide whether we do or don't meet electronically under such an order. Now, under normal circumstances, like Commissioner Smith brought up, even though we don't do it, it's probably wise that we maybe vote on the calendar in September. I think there's 3 months that we all know, November, December, and March, when we don't meet on the normal schedule. But that could be taken care of with one vote at the beginning of the term year in September. So I just, again, I'll say for the third time, I'm just a layman, but under an executive order determining whether we meet in person or electronically, to have to convene the whole commission to make that decision just doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's a rules issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Beeler. Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Commissioner Smith said, we can do this vote by the public forum. The chairman can put out on the first of the month, do you want to meet in person or do you want to meet by Zoom? Majority rules. Each 11 commissioners will have a vote. As far as the calendar goes, our charter tells us when we meet. We meet the third and fourth Monday unless it's a holiday. This year we did discuss the calendar. I do remember that we moved in March because of discussion was brought up because of the third Monday would be spring break. So we moved it because of spring break. So yes, we did discuss it. Do we need jobs descriptions for chair and vice chair, committee chairs and vice chairs? Probably, but we don't need to make this into a dictator type thing to where one person outrules 10. And we all got to vote. We all represent our 47,000 plus Chairman Jay and Commissioner Biggs represents the whole county, which is about 470,000. So we got to keep that in mind. Do I want to meet in person? I will say yes, especially on zoning zonings is our most contentious issue. We worked today through rules. I think that hopefully we can agree next month in rules that we're moving some things around to speed things up to where we will not have associates, employees here till 11, 12 o'clock at night. We'll get our business done. So hopefully we'll discuss that next month. But for March, I would suggest that we go to public forum. Chairman Jay can put out, do you want to meet at the city county building where we spent $18,000 for plexiglass that I can't get anybody to say they approved? Or do we want to meet by Zoom? So that's my, yeah, we need job descriptions. There's nothing wrong with job descriptions, but we got to be careful that we work for the citizens, and we do not want any chairman now or in the future to become some type of dictator. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. And I did listen in on the Rules Committee this afternoon. I'm very anxious about some of the changes proposed that will be brought to the commission. Anxious in a good way, because I really appreciate what Commissioner Daly brought in some ways to make it run more efficiently and to be more conscientious of the time that other people, mainly other Knox County and Knox County school employees, at the time they have to spend at our meetings. So I really applaud you for that, Commissioner Daly, bringing that forward. On the other issue, though, as far as the scheduling of meetings and looking for basically exceptions to the rule, I do believe from listening this afternoon that the intent in bringing this forward was to just have a contingency plan for genuine emergencies when it is not possible to have a special called meeting, when the time frame isn't there, or when just a last moment decision needs to be made anyway. It's not an effort to allow one person to have full control. It's just an effort to basically, I believe, just allow whoever our chair is at that point in time, which, keep in mind, is someone that the majority of us elected. So, at some point in time, I think it's prudent that we demonstrate as a commission collectively that we have some confidence in whoever that chair might be, that if a call needs to be made, and I'm not talking about for months and months out, but something needs to be done on an emergency basis, a contingent plan needs to occur, and it just is not feasible to call us together collectively and have a vote, that we allow our chair of our commission to make that kind of a decision. So I really, that was the intent that I had taken it when it was brought to us. And I don't know if this was Commissioner Jay's intent or not. I felt like it was, but just for clarification, I do not believe that it was any effort to try to skew a huge amount of power toward one person. So I just wanted to share that was my takeaway in this.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. You're spot on in your assumptions. Commissioner Ward?
I'd like to meet in person, especially with the 18,000 we spent as well. I agree with Commissioner Carson. The only question is, can we, since we're still underneath the governor's order, we can still have people Zoom in, the public Zoom in, or other people Zoom in. So if they don't feel comfortable coming down to commission, they can still participate. Is that an accurate assumption or no?
It does, yes. My understanding is it is, and it requires a little bit more coordination with IT, and it is certainly harder for commissioners to participate that way, but it is possible. We've done that when Commissioner Beeler was out and others before, so it could be done that way, yes.
My main concern is, well, commissioners, yes, one, but like the public, if the public wanted to zoom in, they still have the accessibility to do so at this point in time.
Yeah, it would, yes, it would be a bigger challenge for IT, of course, if you had, say, 100 people wanting to zoom in at public forum, of course, but yes, I mean, we've made accommodations from day one in every possible scenario.
We have the best IT team in the state, so I have high confidence in their ability. So yeah, I'd like to be back in person. I miss everybody.
Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Chairman Jay. Earlier, someone did mention that we do decide what the yearly meeting schedule is at our September meeting, so that Drew has time to get it together and get those dates approved by PBA, and then, of course, add it to our commission website. So we do decide when our meetings are. And of course, they did bring up the point too, is we did change our standard meeting schedule to allow for spring break in March, which was a great idea. And then I do think that if we're going to, I like Commissioner Daly's suggestion to use the commission forum to decide whether we're going to meet in person or on Zoom. And I also appreciate the IT department updating all of our laptops, so now we can raise hands like we can now, where Commissioner Hill was having that problem before. And if you'll also look at the reactions box, there's some additional features in there that we may want to consider down the road if we have to meet by Zoom again. And what's so funny, Mr. Beeler?
Well, some of those choices in the reactions box are pretty funny, Commissioner.
Yeah, I was referring to the green one and the red one.
Oh.
Thank you, Commissioner Schoonmaker. Commissioner Smith?
First, I just want to say this has been a hard year. The six and a half years I've been on commission, this has been the toughest year because of cats.
It's been a tough night.
Because we have had to do so much of our business in untraditional ways, in ways that don't allow us to actually be in the same room together. And I guess it's a lot like the education process. Virtually is not as conducive as together. And it has probably kept us from being as tight of a group as we could be, because we haven't had those moments in the same presence. Now, as far as moving forward with Zoom, I'll show you something. This is the only thing I like about Zoom. It allows me to have two computer screens going and two computers. So I can get to a lot of information really quick. But I would like for us to get back to, I am not a medical doctor. I've said that before in these meetings. I don't know where this is going completely. I do think that I can see this both ways. I can see a chairman having discretion for times like this. I can also see this is a great use for the commission forum, to where the chairman puts a suggestion and it takes 6 votes on the forum for it to happen. I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I am like Commissioner Daly. I think these virtual meetings are a disadvantage to the zoning meetings, but I'm pretty open. I just really wanted to express that I think that some of our issues are caused by the circumstances we're in, because it's not conducive to bonding with your colleagues.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to see if the law department had any directions for us, or listening to the comments, if he has any opinion, or maybe not.
I don't think I see anybody from the law department with us anymore. Maybe
Oh,
Joe.
they went home, huh?
I see Joe Roseberg, but we'll
All right.
hold that. Commissioner Durrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Haven't we discussed that there is a possibility of there being an updated commission forum and that sort of thing? And I think, wasn't there an issue before with people being able to get on forum and that sort of thing? I just remember forum being and there being some issues a few months ago, I believe.
Yeah, there is a new and improved forum and commission entire web presence and design and functionality that we've worked on for several months with the IT department. Unfortunately, it was very appropriately sidelined while they spent their time and effort to focus on the vaccine sign up. And so it is still in the works, and we will see it soon. There was some issue also with people being able to sign on, and that was helped by IT back and forth. I do think one of the larger issues, though, is most people just don't use it and respond. I have to say that the lack of response and communication on some things is really difficult, because there have been several times where I have put stuff out on the forum asking for feedback, or asking, and either gets a lot of looks but no replies, or no replies and no looks, and it's just sort of a void of a black hole for space. So I'm happy to continue to use that. I just want to encourage everybody to actually use it and participate in it in a way that is meaningful. Otherwise, it's just going to be me posting stuff and two people responding. So hopefully we'll have a better interface soon that'll be a little bit easier to notify everyone.
Commissioner, and if I could just say for the record on that commission forum, Commissioner Jay, I can speak for the four of us new folks that this wasn't something I don't think we totally got. We totally fully understood, the mechanism of it, and that there was a little bit of lack in communication in that too, trying to figure out what it really was. And again, that goes back to not being collectively together so much of the time. But I will tell you, so in the beginning, you weren't intentionally ignored, because I hadn't even figured it out yet. So, and I know I wasn't the only one. So
thank you. Commissioner Biggs.
Thank you, Chairman. So one of the things that I've noticed that our four new commissioners haven't really had the opportunity to do is, we had orientations in Murfreesboro, we've had days on the Hill. And one of the things that I hate for you guys, but we will see change, is the opportunity for community interaction whenever you are meeting and going through budgets and talking to people in the arts and things that could be beneficial throughout our entire community that will really benefit your district in many different ways. Sometimes the thing that I really like is seeing how these smaller projects impact us in a positive direction. There's things that we can do that are absolutely nowhere near as big as some of the things like the Shod Road extension and things of that nature, but it has an impact on a lot of people. And I'm looking forward to getting back in person, mainly because like Commissioner Daly stated, the zonings are so important. But as well as whenever we were physically there and had a hybrid meeting, there were people that came that didn't sign up for public forum. And sometimes during some of the meetings maybe we've all had in that last couple of weeks, we could see the importance of broadband and internet connection and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to us all being able to get back together. But more than anything, I'm looking forward to a new chapter for this new commission and us moving in a direction that we can all basically be an assistance to one another.
Thank you, Commissioner Biggs. I don't see any other hands up, so I'll just kind of reiterate a couple of quick things, and then we'll close up our meeting tonight. As Commissioner Hill said very eloquently, much more than I, the intention of my conversation today in the Rules Committee and here tonight is is purely clarification and trying to build a better commission. I hope to work through some of the documentation, go back to the rules committee and work with all of you all and see if we can codify some things. But it's not to create, any authoritarian XYZ. It's to write down what has either been the norm or the tradition or the way things have worked, and to put it into something that makes it better for the next commissioner. I do think the next chairman, the next vice chairman, the next commission, the more we can write some of this stuff down instead of that's the way it's always been or just kind of assumptions, the more we can just sort of codify and write things down and outline the roles, responsibilities, it'll make us a better commission. I mean, we didn't even, several years ago, if you were a new commissioner like I was, Commissioner Biggs, we came in at the same time, we got nothing. We literally got thrown in Murfreesboro for a day and a half with, 6 pieces of paper. And then we started making decisions. We didn't even have orientation. We didn't have any documentation. We didn't have books. We've made it a little bit better. And my goal as chairman, I said this from the very beginning, if I can help make commission just a little bit better, a little bit more organized, a little bit more fluid in the information, a little bit better, or, prepared for the next term, that's my goal. And so I'm really hoping to just try to help outline the roles and responsibilities, outline how we can make a better chairman or a better commission so that the next chairman and vice chairman and the next leadership can come in and go, oh, okay, I got it. Part of what we discussed today was I didn't even know half of the boards that the chairman was automatically on in the community until I became chair. So just writing down like what to expect is kind of, at some point, we don't even, it's amazing. We don't even have a job description for what to expect to do when you're a commissioner. What is expected of commission? We talked about decorum today. We talked about, how to treat your fellow commissioners, how to interact with the community. We don't even have any of that stuff written down. It's like 2 words. So I just think that it's important to have these discussions. I hope we can all work together to figure out a way to really make ourselves the most professional and the most organized and the most productive commission. We'll always disagree on different things, but hopefully we can kind of gel. I hope now this is a starting point. I hope our retreat might help that. And then hopefully, as we go forward, we'll all make a better commission and leave a little bit better footprint. So that being said, I will put out tonight on the forum a basic question. Would you like to meet next month by Zoom or in person? And if you are asking to do it on Zoom, would you participate in person if we were all in person? And you would, I'll phrase that in a way that gives everybody an opportunity to provide feedback, and we'll move forward. I do also want to say that, I'm only the chair of the commission. There is the chair of the rules, and the rules chairman decided to have the meeting in person. There's a different chairman for the finance committee. That chairman decided to have it virtually. There are different committees and they have different chairs. So this is not to speak for every other subcommittee. That's not under my purview as chairman. So the question will be for the work session and for the commission meeting, not for all of the other subcommittees. That is up to if I'm understanding it, that's really up to their discretion as to whether to poll their old members or just unilaterally make a decision. I'm not going to get into that, but I do think this is the kind of thing that, really sort of says what is the precedence, because I wasn't asked by the rules of the finance committee whether to do it this way or that way. It was just decided. Same thing, other decisions are. So this is just decision clarifying, and I'll post that tonight. And I encourage you all to quickly reply to that, and so we can set it forth. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask you, are you sure you want to post that tonight, given that the meeting we still have our regular meeting and it's a month away? I mean, that's a decision I think that can be made 2-3 weeks before our next meeting.
How about, I can do that too. It's up to you. What do you guys want me to do? I mean, I can wait and post it at the end of next week and then just kind of gauge everybody from there. We hope everything will, the original goal of going virtual, the purpose was for safety and health. And it was my intention to try to make sure we didn't add to the rising counts and to really follow our best health advice. So I'm happy to wait and maybe at the end of next week, post it and then have everybody weigh in. If I'm seeing yays or nays on that idea to wait until next Friday and post it. Okay, I'll do that. I'll wait till next Friday. I'll post it and then we'll go forward. So thank you for the meaningful discussion. I hope we continue that going forward. And that is the last item on our agenda. Does anybody have any other business before us tonight?
Yeah, can I get an update on where we're at with the TVA towers and the move over there in the Andrew Johnson building? I feel like that was before my time and I thought it would be done by now and it's not.
Yeah, I think Chris Caldwell is still on the line. If not, I will resend you a document on the sort of timeline of where we are. But Mr. Caldwell, are you with us still? You may or may not be.
Next week is fine.
Okay, I can get that. Mr. Bessler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let you know it is finalized that the signs will be going up on Norris Freeway, that it is now a scenic historic site. It's been taken care of. So, and that was done by some local people here. And one of them was Michael Carberry, who used to work on the MPC. So he deserves a big high five when you see him. But
Charlie,
there's out there that's making this county a lot better.
Charlie, when you say historic site, is there a picture of you up beside the highway?
No, it's for the old people, like the old 6.5-year veteran up there. What is it? Smith, was that in the whatever district that was in? Hey, and
Thank you for that.
Hey, listen, I didn't know Carson was that old, and I'll shut up.
Thank you for that information. Commissioner Ward, I will get an update from Mr. Caldwell on that. My understanding, though, is that everything is on track. You've seen a lot of cranes near TVA. They are doing all the upgrades that they said they would. You can also see from Gay Street the elevator tower for part of the ADA accessibility that's being built in that parking lot between the visitor center and the building next door. On that, it's sort of a freestanding elevator stack, and that everything is on track for the school system to move over there in phases and throughout the summer. Commissioner Smith may have more information, but my understanding is that everything continues to just be on the original timeline, give or take.
Yeah, I just want what the timeline, if they can just email me a timeline of what it is being in construction, I kind of have an idea of what it should be. So just want to know the actual details.
So you want to know when the school system will be fully over there?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Smith, did you have some information on that?
Yeah. The cranes are actually working on the TVA side of it, not the Knox County side. UT and Knox County are both still in the demolishing stage. The rebuild should start here in the next month or so, maybe 2 months. Originally, Commissioner Ward, the target was to have the school system into the TVA towers by the start of this coming school year. And it appears we're still on track for that.
Thank you for that additional information. Commissioner Daly?
Thank you very much. For the new commissioners that don't know, it's going to be, pretty sure it's going to be called the University of Tennessee Towers. They're going to be a UT logos on the outside, not a Knox County logo, but a UT logo, which is beyond me, but that's what I've been told. So why is not Knox County logo out there? But there's a UT logo. There'll be a UT logo on the side of the buildings.
I think that was part of the lease agreement, but I'm sure they could reinforce that or get more clarification. Is there any other business to come before this body tonight? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by Commissioner Schoonmaker, first by Commissioner Smith. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next week.